Today in Missoula, Montana, two of the proudest programs in the FCS meet in a second-round playoff game. Near freezing temperatures, a little snow, not keeping anybody away. Coming up, it's the Jackrabbits and the Grizzlies. What a setting for college football on a Saturday in December. Welcome to the second round of the NCAA FCS playoffs on ESPN. The setting could not be any better. Snow-covered mountains surrounding Washington Grizzlies Stadium for this matchup between the South Dakota State Jackrabbits, 9-4 on the year, and the Montana Grizzlies, the number 3 seed in this tournament, 11-1 overall. You see these two teams meeting at the top of the bracket. The winner of this game next week will take on the winner of Mercer and South Dakota, looming perhaps in the semifinals, the 2 seed, Montana State. Good afternoon and welcome to Missoula. Alongside Jeff Woody, I'm Richard Cross. Thanks so much for being with us. I don't know how the Saturday could be any better than this. An absolute perfect setting.
It's a perfect setting. The mountains are beautiful. The fans are excited. There is so much haze in the air because there's pyrotechnics in the air, and there's going to be pyrotechnics on the field with these two teams.
South Dakota State is excited to have their quarterback back. Chase Mason returned last week in the snow in Brookings. He is an absolute difference maker returning from a foot injury.
Yeah, he was out for 5 games. They lost 4 of them and had to win an absolute miracle at North Dakota at Grand Forks. But with him on the field, they're explosive, they're confident, and just the vibe of the team is better. He is potentially a high-round draft pick next year if he returns. He is a big difference maker for the Jackrabbits.
And a difference maker for the Grizz, number 6, Michael Wortham. He'll play a little bit of everywhere, named last week as a finalist for the Walter Payton Award.
Yeah, when you're game planning as an opposing team, you put a beanie or a helmet or something to indicate where that guy is. Well, you put a flare on him because he plays everywhere and does everything for this Grizz team very, very well.
We're not going to have to wait long to see Chase Mason. Grizz won the toss, deferred to the second half. Going to be Jackrabbits football to start this game. Alongside Jeff Woody, Richard Cross, glad to have you along. They call it the Mecca of FCS football, Washington Grizzlies Stadium, and we are underway. Fair catch made in the end zone, and the Jackrabbits offense will start at the 25-yard line. Chase Mason will walk his team out onto the field. Quarterback was hurt against Murray State early in that ball game. Missed games against North Dakota State, Indiana State, South Dakota, Illinois State, and North Dakota. Returned last week in the first-round playoff game against New Hampshire. Led his ball club to a 41-3 win. Head coach Dan Jackson cannot say enough good things about his quarterback. That is a false start before the first play. In the last 2 seasons, this
false start, offense, number 54, 5-yard penalty, first down.
This Washington Grizzlies Stadium crowd has forced 50 false starts for opponents, make it 51.
Well, especially on this north side. They're the north end zone crazies. That's the alumni that are sitting up there. That's the sound. Students are on the other side, so it doesn't get much better on the south end.
So now 1st and 15 for the Jackrabbits before they run a play. Mason was moving back and fortunate not to get a false start there. He delivers a strike to his tight end, Coleman Kuntz. Just the 7th catch of the year for Kuntz. Micah Harper there for the tackle.
Yeah, the fans are booing that they didn't get a false start, but he is a skill player, which allows you to move backwards or laterally before the snap as long as you're not moving forward and there's not more than one of you doing it. So although the fans don't like it, appropriate call. 5 yards that shouldn't have been there, save for the north end zone crazies.
8 of 5, 2nd and 10. Julius Lawfridge off the right hip of Chase Mason. They'll give it to Lawfridge for the first time today. He'll go close to 5 yards out to the 30, brought down by Peyton Wing. First team all-conference player in the Big Sky this year.
Yeah, and he's a 4,000-yard rusher. He's rushed for 3,000 at Fordham. But against this Montana State, the Montana defense, somebody's going to scream at me for that one. Against this Montana defense, they move all over the place laterally, and they bring a ton of pressure. So Lawfridge is going to have to be huge, running straight through all that movement.
3rd down and a long 5. Jackrabbits got to take it across the 35 to move the chains. This crowd in full throat early. Mason with time. Dumps it over the middle. That's complete. That is a first down. And Alex Block coming across the formation on a drag route. Makes his 66th catch of the year.
Yeah, Chase Mason comes from a baseball background, so he's used to throwing in weird arm angles. That was almost a three-quarter delivery to a crosser. You got to get pressure in his face and make him move, because if he's able to stand comfortably in the pocket, they're going to be able to pick up long third downs, and that can't happen for the Montana defense.
First and 10 from the 37. Jackrabbits 9-4 on the year. Lothridge stacked up at the line and dropped for a loss. Solomon Tuliaupupu with the tackle for Montana.
Yeah, and the way they coach this defense, it's not gaps. You're not trying to fill the A gap or the B gap. You're trying to fill outside in or inside out. It's the Rocky Long system. And what that's meant to do is it's meant to destroy your blocking scheme. And Tuliaupupu did a really good job there. It's trying to take everything you expect for a defense and flip it on its head. That's going to be a big thing for the Montana defense.
And its base, it's a 3-3-5, but you see 4 at the line of scrimmage right now. 2nd and 13. Mason, pressure coming, lets it go sidearm, and it's intercepted! Taken away by T.J. Roush. That's his 3rd interception of the year, a diving effort just across midfield.
I mentioned just a few seconds ago, you have to get pressure on Chase Mason. Well, Diesel Wilkinson's going to come from a blitz on the top side for his blind side. Mason actually had a receiver open all the way down the field. But you're going to come from the top of your screen. Number 24 is going to hit him right as he's getting rid of the ball. If he's able to step into that throw, that might be a touchdown. But the contact forced the throw to be wide. That is team defense. The Grizz doing an excellent job against a really strong offense. That's an awesome start for the Montana Grizz.
Diesel Wilkinson had the pressure, caused the errant throw, the interception, and now it's Kaali Ayat at quarterback. Wants to throw on first down. He dumps it. They have it tipped at the line, trying to get it to the big tight end, Evan Schaefer, at 6'5", 270.
He's a load. If you want to watch some fun football, you watch 84, but you also want to watch some fun football, you look at Kaali Ayat, 3,000-yard passer. He played in this game last year against South Dakota State in Brookings. Inexperienced, got a little bit jumpy. He is a much better player this year than last.
On the ground, here's Eli Gilman with a burst up the middle. He's got good hands. He's a willing blocker, but he is dangerous with the football. 1,261 yards on the season coming into this game.
And there's your offensive player of the year in the Big Sky doing what he does. He's bad at nothing. He's a good blocker, a good catcher, a good runner between the tackles, and obviously a good player down the field.
Now it's Gilman in motion. They fake it to him. Ayat dumps it out on a crossing route. On the catch, Ian Finch. Beg your pardon, that's Michael Wortham on the catch. And another first down for the Grizz.
Really nice job by the offensive line for the Grizz. The strength of this South Dakota State defense is their front four, so being able to give Ayat time is really big. And they found, their jack of all trades, their Swiss Army knife, whatever you want to call him, Michael Wortham is everywhere on this team.
For the first time in about 3 days, the sun popping out here in Missoula as Gilman dances in the hole and then pushes the pile across the 25 down to the 24 for a gain of 5 on first down.
Mentioned he's good at everything. He broke a couple tackles a few seconds ago, and now he's just going to put his head down. There's nowhere really to go. He just puts his head down and says, I'm going to get as much as I can. Just a housekeeping note for those of you South Dakota State Jacks fans. Kobe Claiborne normally wears number 94. He's in number 95 today. So if you're wondering why 94 isn't on the field, he is just in a different number.
Mason Brousseau normally wears 95. He is out today. Swing pass to the outside. It's Wortham. They want the ball in his hands, and that is why. Good speed in the open field for another Grizz first down.
Well, and it's a big deal. Miles Taylor likely not going to play for South Dakota State. He's their starting corner, so Aiden Dowderman is going to be starting there. Well, it just fits a little bit inside. Wortham gives him a little bit of a dead leg, gets to the outside. That is what 6 brings. He is explosive, and he does everything for this team.
Montana offense marching on its opening possession after the interception. Fake it to Gilman, this time to the air. On the catch, Blake Bohannon breaks a tackle. He gets inside the 5-yard line. Dropped it finally by Kobe Bretz. First and goal, Montana.
And there's Dowderman again. Not to say anything bad about the kid, but he's a backup for a reason. You have Miles Taylor out. They've targeted him now twice in a row.
Now on the ground, Gilman met after a gain of a yard, maybe two. Second and goal coming up for this Montana offense.
Involved in that tackle was number 5, Colin McShane. He is a star in the making. He's a young guy. He's only a junior, but he is a potential NFL player. He missed last week due to injury. He's going to have to be big against the versatility of this Montana offense.
McShane was a game-time decision today. They wanted to see how he did in warm-ups. He obviously is a go in this second-round playoff game. Hand off to Gilman, trying to string it to the outside, and he runs into a wall of defenders led by Aaron Wolfkale Holston.
You know, in the wild, a grizzly is stronger than a jackrabbit, but a jackrabbit is faster. On the field, it's the inverse of that. I think the Jackrabbits are a stronger, more physical team in the trenches, but the Grizz have much more speed. That is a great thing to have more speed, but when you're inside the 3, you have to be able to push people around, and this is where South Dakota State is going to have to make a stand after this interception.
Gilman out of the game. Stevie Rocker Jr. comes in, the 5th-year senior from Tucson. To the air. Stacked up at the line and short of the end zone. That was Josh Gale with his 13th catch of the year. Jack's able to hold him out of the end zone. Offense staying on the field. Maybe. It's like a heavier package coming in for the Grizz.
And that was a screen. They were designing that play. The wide receivers were blocking to get the tight end to trust that he could put his head down and get in the end zone. But again, the strength of this Jackrabbits team.
Watch 84. He's lined up at the H-back on the right. See if they can get behind him. Stacked up and dropped. And the Jackrabbit defense stands tall. It was first and goal from the 5-yard line. 4 plays and no points for the Grizz.
Big moment early in this game. Montana's going to have the ability to move up and down the field, but as soon as they get in the red zone, they're going to have to stand up just like they did there.
Couple of possessions. We are scoreless in Missoula after a stand by the Jackrabbits defense. 36 degrees in Missoula. Jackrabbits defense came up with a big 4th down stop.
Yeah, Logan Green, number 51, right in the middle of your screen, is going to be able to defeat 2 blocks. The strength of this Jackrabbit team, we'll say it before, I'll say it again, is their front 4. Montana's going to have to handle how good they are. 51's a farm kid from Southwest Iowa who's a state champion wrestler. You're going to have to beat his hands if you're going to try and beat him on the field.
Jackrabbits starting in a hole. Shadow of the goalpost, and they start out with Lothridge on the ground. He'll pick up a couple out to the 5-yard line. South Dakota State turned it over on its opening possession. Chase Mason under pressure from Diesel Wilkinson threw an interception. Great play by TJ Rouse with his 3rd pick of the year. Only a yard pickup on the 1st down carry for Lothridge, so 2nd and 9. Time, and across the middle. What a catch in the open field, and now a chance for a massive play. That's Graham Goring trying to take it the distance. A touchdown, 95 yards. Chase Mason on the money to Graham Goring for the touchdown.
Well, this is team offense at its finest. There's a twist and a stunt that's brought by the Montana defense, and the offensive line sorted it out perfectly. Chase Mason has the ability to stand there and deliver the ball. When we get to this replay, there's another bit of this that this South Dakota State team is known for, and its effort. And man, that is a big momentum shift after getting a 4th down stop. 2 plays later, you got 95 yards for a touchdown.
Eli Stater on to try the extra point. Splits the uprights, and it's the Jackrabbits that strike first. It's the 11th all-time meeting between these two teams. South Dakota State has never won in Missoula. They lead early. Jackrabbits with a 7-0 lead over the Montana Grizz. Drive summary didn't take long. 2 plays, covered 96 yards.
Well, you'd expect normally a team that gets down to the 5-yard line to be the one that scores. After this interception, there's a 4th down stop there by the South Dakota State team, and then immediately the possession flips. And Chase Mason put this thing on the money. 2 Montana defenders take each other out. And we're going to see on the left side of the screen, Jack Smith is going to come into the picture because he was escorting his buddy, the corner, all the way down the field. The corner was the only person that could make that play, and Jack Smith, in his effort, was just taking his way all the way down the field. Coach Bobby Houck is not thrilled with either of the last 2 plays because 95-yard touchdown allowed and also an unnecessary roughness penalty on the PAT. So we're going to see the kickoff come from the 50-yard line.
Midfield. And just booms this one through the back of the end zone. Content to let Montana start from the 25. Wondered if might get a little onside kick or perhaps some sort of a pooch kickoff. He didn't get that. Grizz with their second possession. Moved it well and then clogged into a grinding halt down inside the 5-yard line. Kaylee Ayat leads this Montana offense. Over 3,000 yards passing, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions this season for Ayat. And he goes right back to the air. That's Brooks Davis on the catch. Breaks a tackle and races up the sideline. He's shoved out of bounds at midfield. Jalen B. Lee shoved him out.
That's a really talented redshirt freshman. And again, who are they throwing at? They're throwing at Dowderman. And that's when you have a sub and talented wide receivers like they do, they're going to target them every single time. So you watch 13 in white. That's probably where the ball is going to go quite a few times today. If South Dakota State's going to win, he'll need to step up.
Gilman on the carry. He goes across midfield, dropped by the linebacker Joel Ullman, one of 3 defensive captains for South Dakota State.
Yeah, the physicality of Gilman reminds me actually of a guy who was a little bit bigger, but David Johnson played at Northern Iowa. He ended up being an all-pro with the Arizona Cardinals, but he just kind of does everything right, and nothing looks hard. Nothing is rushed or hurried. Number 10 is a special player. He can pick up 6 yards when nothing's there.
Handoff is to Gilman again, and he's stacked up at the line. No gain on the second down carry. You mentioned a second ago, Jeff, named the Big Sky Offensive Player of the Year. He is the first Montana running back to ever receive the award, the 7th Grizzly all-time to be named Player of the Year on the offensive side.
Which is really amazing with the history and tradition of the Montana Grizz team. They've been good for a really long time. To have him be the first running back says a lot about him and the program.
Rocker back into the game. He's off the left hip of Ayat. Davis is the motion man. Ayat with time, steps up, and now just flip it down the field. He's got a wide open receiver. That's Stevie Rocker Jr. Snuck out of the backfield. A touchdown, an answer for the Grizz. Is this any fun?
This is FCS football at its absolute finest, and really this is what Kaylee Ayat brings to the table. This was not a planned necessary, or a play that he was planned, but as he steps up, he sees Rocker on the wheel route get clear of the corner. Because of his legs, the secondary had to commit up. Well, you're in a bind. If you go up to play Ayat, you're going to give up a big pass. If you play back to the pass, Ayat's going to scramble. That's a big play, and another big moment as the extra point hits the upright.
Would you believe that is the second missed extra point ever for Ty Morrison? He had made 108 of 109 in his career. The first one he missed, his first kick ever in this stadium. Of the last 14 FCS national championships have come from either South Dakota State or North Dakota State. You see Dan Jackson back at SDSU, his alma mater, where he played linebacker, as defensive coordinator at Idaho a year ago. Returnable kick this time. Out across the 30, and then Jack Smith is bounced out of bounds. I want to go back to the extra point that was missed. I said Ty Morrison. It was actually Joe Silver that came on to try the extra point. He hit the right upright, so you got a doink. We've had a lot in 9.5 minutes of football. An interception by the Grizz defense, a 4th down stop by the Jackrabbits defense, a touchdown pass, and then a doink on the ground to start the drive. This time it's Josiah Johnson into the game, the freshman from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. A little raw, but very talented.
He's super physical. He gets downhill. It was funny, Coach Dan Jackson mentioned that he would run so hard into his offensive lineman's back that he had to take him aside and be like, hey, son, you can cut back. You can make a move. It's possible, but he is a talented player.
Chase Mason making it happen with his feet there. Slides across the 45. That's where started his slide at 46, so they mark it there, but a first down.
Yeah, when we were talking with the Montana staff, last week South Dakota State played in a blizzard, and it was his first game back, so it was hard to say what he could or couldn't do, and so they were really interested to see what his physical capability with running the ball was going to be. So I don't know if they're going to run him a lot, but that shows that they are comfortable running him at least some.
Quick pass. That is blocked on the catch. Alex Block, the grad transfer from Nebraska. Got his bachelor's degree at Nebraska in business management, where he was a 3-time academic All-Big Ten player. A couple of catches today. He's up to 67 on the year. Jackrabbits offense marching. Fresh set of downs from the 42. Mason, deep ball, and it's hauled in by Alex Bullock. Went up and got it at its highest point. And this Jackrabbits offense is cooking early.
I think that ball got about 10 feet off the ground the entire time. The arm talent that Chase Mason has is incredible, and this is an awesome play. I think that ball was actually a little overthrown. If he takes Bullock to the sideline, he's actually able to catch it and run, but either way, it's a big play to get them into this medium red zone, which this is where this aggressive and stunting defense can start to get some TFLs and sacks to throw the Jackrabbits off.
Pistol formation. It's Johnson on the carry. Moves it down inside the 10. TJ Roush with the tackle. Chase Mason missed 5 games with a foot injury. They called it a mid-foot sprain. There was some concern early, if they had to wait for a while to get the MRI results, that it could be a Lisfranc injury, which would certainly have ended the season, if not the career of Chase Mason. They were very, very patient in bringing him back. Did not bring him back until he had all of the lateral movement to go along with the straight line movement. Give is to Johnson. Picks his way inside the 5-yard line and trying to drive the pile down toward the goal line.
Yeah, when it works, but if he was going to, he could have walked into the end zone. If he follows his tight end, if he takes 88 around, there's a big open walk-in touchdown there for him. But the physicality of bringing it down here, you got a third and very, very short in a moment where I would expect South Dakota State to go for it, even if they were to be stopped here, unless it's a big TFL.
Less than a yard. Heavier package comes in.
And now there's a late substitution by South Dakota State, so they got to hold the ball because Montana gets a chance to answer. That late sub caused a Burns timeout, and in a game that's this tight, that might mean something. That's a late substitution by the offensive staff for South Dakota State. Good job by Montana matching.
Minute 55 to go in this opening quarter. A big 3rd down and 1. We've already seen the Jackrabbits defense come up with a defensive stop inside the 5-yard line. Now the Grizz trying to do that themselves.
Both these teams are also really good at time of possession. And so I'm usually not a fan. You know, middle of the field, it's like 2nd and 7, and you take a timeout to avoid that delay of game. I'm not a fan of that, but when it's 3rd and this short, and you're not going to get a ton of possessions, you have to preserve these opportunities. You also have to hold your water in this really noisy stadium. The students are going to be just to the offense's left. They got to hold their water and not false start and make it a 3rd and long.
They brought Jared Ramos in along that defensive line at 6'4", 287, so some bigger bodies for the Grizz. Chase Mason behind center. Quarterback sneak straight ahead. Didn't need much. That should be enough for the first down. They're going to mark him inside the 2. Chase Mason lets you know it is a first down. So 1st and goal for the Jackrabbits from inside the 2.
That's big Shane Willenbring, number 54, getting submarine-y and getting a little bit of space for Mason to kind of land on his buddy's back. The quarterback-center relationship is very special. There's a lot of contact between those two.
3 backs in the backfield. Josiah Johnson is the deep back. Ball out on the ground, picked up by Mason, and he's just going to fall forward into the end zone for a rushing touchdown. Near disaster turns into a score for the Jackrabbits.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, but one of the things that luck doesn't just come and you just happen into it. You get it because you're prepared. Chase Mason kept his head on straight. That ball's on the ground, but he had a buddy protecting him. Normally you want to dive on it anytime it's in the possible recovery of the opponent, but he was confident and comfortable and knew where the blocking scheme was going to be, so he just ducked himself in.
Replay officials taking a look at this to make sure that it was indeed a touchdown. And now they're going to take a closer look. John Kellermeyer is our referee today.
Yeah, simply just bobbled the snap. Doesn't really look like he was ever close to the ground. I think they're looking at that right shin, but to me his body is pretty well in the end zone. And one thing about replays, the call on the field is assumed to be correct. Like, you go into the replay with the saying that they made the right call. So you have to prove that it's wrong. You can't say, well, I think it could have been this other way. And when the call on the field is touchdown, I don't see a lot to overturn that.
He praises indisputable video evidence to overturn the call on the field. Kellermeyer and this officiating crew, an all-star crew today out of the United Athletic Conference. Ruling on the field was a touchdown. Looking to see if there's anything to overturn that.
One of the things that is interesting, though, you see number 82, Coleman Kuntz, he's the lead blocker on the play. So when I was mentioning just the calm and confidence that Chase Mason plays with, whenever something like that happens, the blocking is going on in front of you. They don't know that the ball is on the ground. So if you are able to recover it, go to where the blocks are going. The timing might not be perfect, but they're at least clearing a path out of the way.
Field's upheld. Touchdown.
So the ruling of touchdown on the field upheld after the video review. It's 13-6 with an extra point coming from Eli Stater. 4 straight losses for South Dakota State this year. They lost the Dakota Marker game 38-7 at home to North Dakota State. Dropped one the next week to Indiana State. Lost on the road at South Dakota. And then really the only game where they played poorly was the game against Illinois State, where they dug themselves a big hole early. Bounced back in the regular season finale with a win over North Dakota. And then last week in the first round of the playoffs, 41-3 over New Hampshire in the return of Chase Mason. He's now got a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown.
Well, you said the return of Chase Mason. This is what he brings to the table. Not that Jack Henry doesn't do a good job or didn't do a good job for the Jackrabbits when he was in. He got better every week. But the type of stuff that Chase Mason does, he does winning things. He makes winning plays. South Dakota State had a guy named Mark Gronowski that is very similar. And Mason has probably a better arm, not quite as physical of a runner, but the quarterback consistency that South Dakota State's had and the winning that they've had over time, number 7 absolutely falls into that mode.
So still a one-score lead with 1:13 left in the opening quarter here in Missoula. Michael Wortham, always dangerous with the ball in his hand, stands at the 5-yard line and will await the kickoff from Eli Stater. Wortham averaging a little better than 26 yards per return this year. He's going to bring it out from 5 yards deep. And it's covered well by the Jackrabbits. So instead of the 25-yard line, Montana going to start from the 13. Maybe something that you live with if you're Bobby Houghton because of what he can do in the open field.
Yeah, anytime you get the chance to have number 6 run around a little bit, you want him to. But anytime the ball takes you backwards as a returner, none of your blockers know where you are. That ball could be anywhere. And so if it's delayed, if you're moving backwards, the timing gets off on everything. So it's really hard to break a big return when it's kicked and caught like that, even if you are Michael Wortham.
Ayat 6 of 7 for 101 yards and a touchdown. So a great start for him throwing the football, and he wants to throw on first down. Swings it to Gilman out of the backfield. He gets a block on the perimeter. Bryce Johnson with the tackle. Down around the 22-yard line.
Evan Schaefer out there leading the way. We mentioned him, and you're going to see him a lot. If you want to know where the action is, find number 84. He's the best blocker on the team. And they talked about just him and his physicality. If he gets a hold of you, he is not letting go.
Beg your pardon, not the 22, the 17. Quick pass, wide open, out on the outside. Brooks Davis. Davis has had an outstanding freshman year. He came into this game with 611 yards receiving, just 79 shy of the freshman record for the Grizz.
Jaden Oliver was actually coming on a corner blitz, and Ayat saw that, and we called that a Sooner corner. You have the option of blitzing, but the safety doesn't quite get over there. You can deliver an accurate ball. It's a big play.
Underneath, handoff to Gilman. He'll get a couple of yards on first down. Bryce Johnson with the tackle, and you talk about what Ayat saw there. That's one of the things that this Montana coaching staff talked about, his ability to see everything on the field in his second year as a starter. Hard to find many settings better than this one. Mountains surrounding Washington Grizzlies Stadium. The beginning of the second quarter with South Dakota State in front, 14-6. It's 6 because of a doinked extra point.
Bingo cards are full today. Interception, 95-yard touchdown, doinked extra point.
Stevie Rocker in the game. Wortham is the motion man. Ayat looking to throw, and it's complete out to midfield. On the catch that time is Corbin Hendricks, his 11th of the year.
A lot of that, the space that they operate in is because Wortham's over there. We mentioned that, in the open, you almost put a flare where number 6 is. Everybody is aware of where Wortham is on the field. And the wider he gets, the more speed he operates with, the more bodies you got to put towards him. Big open receiver because he was around there and taking so much attention.
There's Wortham at quarterback, and he hands it off to Monty Gilman, who gets to the outside. Dante Johnson knocked him out of bounds. First time today that we have seen Michael Wortham line up at the quarterback spot.
And it won't be the last time. And also you get to see little brother taking off. Monty is Eli's little brother back from home. And I think the Montana fans are big fans of the Gilman household.
Ayat back in, and he hands it off to Gilman. Gilman, look at that run after contact. He's going to be shoved out of bounds just short of the first down. Initial contact and then kind of moves laterally.
I just got to give a shout out to the strength coach at Montana, Dan Ryan. With as strong as this backfield is and the tight end group is, you sometimes think that everybody's going to be slow because they're so strong, but the speed they have at their positions, to be this strong and this fast at FCS is a big, big deal for a strength staff.
A forward progress, so first down for the Grizz, late substitution. Jackrabbits now with a chance to do it as well. Play clock at 5. Wortham the motion man. Ayat pulls it and throws complete far sideline. That's Blake Bohannon hauling it in.
Good composure by Ayat there, knowing that he's got time. You know, it's not a lot. It doesn't feel like a lot of time. 5 seconds once the referee moves out of the way. But being comfortable and composed, if I snap it at 1 or I snap it at 25, the ball is still snapped on time. Gets his foot in the ground, delivers an accurate pass. Really impressed with Ayat and his composure so far.
Finch and Davis swap sides in the formation. Play clock at 10. Now it's Finch motioning across the formation and back again. They give it to Gilman. He's trying to get to the outside. Gilman to the 20. Gilman to the 10, and he's dropped inside the 10-yard line. Kobe Bretz with the touchdown-saving tackle for the Jackrabbits.
When we were talking with offensive coordinator Brent Pease, he mentioned that you can just count on a big play or two from Michael Wortham, and they look for 8 to 10 explosive plays throughout a game. An explosive play being a 12 or more yard run or a 15 or more yard pass. I think Gilman's got 2 himself so far in this first 20 minutes of gameplay.
First and goal, they fake it to Gilman. Ayat taking a shot toward the back of the end zone. It's incomplete. Receiver fell down. Blake Bohannon may have gotten his feet tangled up, but that ball was not going to be catchable anyway. Second time we have seen Grizz offense down inside the 10-yard line. Ayat goes out. Wortham will come in and go to quarterback. And it's not just run the ball when he's in. He can throw it as well.
He's thrown for touchdown passes. He's handed it off, making good zone reads, and he's also kept it. He does everything, and this is the weird stuff that you can do when bringing your quarterback out.
Makes the handoff, and now Wortham tries to cut it back inside. Jackrabbits kind of set the edge there and didn't allow him to get to the outside like he wanted to.
Yeah, Colin McShane did a really nice job of containing Wortham. And defensive coordinator Brian Bergstrom always stresses that toes to the tackle. Bring your body to his. But he also stresses that tackling's easier with your buddies. So maintaining leverage and getting it back to multiple people makes bringing a guy like Wortham down a lot easier.
So Ayat back in. 3rd and goal. Steps up, or tries to at least, but he is surrounded by white jerseys. He had 50 and 51 there. Logan Green, I think, is going to get credit.
This is the stuff that South Dakota State does. And you just see Kobe Claiborne getting a good rush on the top side of that play. And then Blake Leiferman is going to be the other side of that twist. And they met at Kaylee Yacht as the field goal unit comes on.
Joe Silver will try the field goal. 36-yard effort is through the uprights, and that makes it a 5-point game. 14-9, Jackrabbits in front. We'll be back after this. That was a first-round FCS playoff game back in 2009. This is Morrison with the kickoff. Not sure what the issue is with Morrison not on the PAT and field goal teams. Chase Mason in the offense for South Dakota State coming back onto the field. Pretty good so far. 5 of 6 for 150 yards and a touchdown.
And the one incompletion was an interception, which his defense bailed him out on a 4th down stop. You know, you look at their record and you see the 4 losses, and if you're not familiar with this Jacks team, you wonder, I mean, is he that big of a deal? And does he make that team that much better? Yes. Short answer, yes, he does. Everything he does, from leadership to arm talent to running to keeping his composure, he makes this team a championship caliber team.
Hands it off on 1st down. And there is not much there. Peyton Wing with the tackle right at the line of scrimmage. There is a flag down on the play in the backfield. It was interesting talking with South Dakota State's coaches yesterday, even their defensive coordinator, Brian Bergstrom.
Personal foul, illegal ball below the waist, defense, number 45, 15-yard penalty, automatic 1st down.
Big penalty there against Montana, but Bergstrom on the defensive side said, we got better when Chase Mason came back.
Yeah, you can actually see on the right side, Caleb Otlewski, if there's a puller that's coming at you, meaning an offensive lineman or a tight end, you cannot hit them below the waist if you're moving towards the ball. So that was the absolutely appropriate call, even though these Grizz fans don't like it. You know, it's an unfortunate rule because every offensive lineman pulling is the worst nightmare of anyone smaller than them, which is basically the entire defense.
15-yard penalty takes it out to the 40. Chase Mason, he is harassed and he is dropped. Solo Tuliaupupu with the sack.
The USC transfer being part of what this defensive coaching staff doesn't call blitzes until you get 6 or more people. They're bringing 5. They call that a push. And what that does, with as much movement as it is, you're never getting a square shot as an offensive lineman. You're always dealing with somebody coming from some side or the other. Nice job by Tuliaupupu of creating his one-on-one and winning it to get to the quarterback.
Listen to this Grizz crowd. Whistle before the snap, and that's going to be a false start. The second of the game against South Dakota State.
Prior to the snap, false start. Offense number 54, 5-yard penalty, second down.
And that will energize the crowd a bit more.
Well, and what's cool about this stadium, the mountains that you see behind it, it's a loud crowd anyway, but you put giant stone features outside the stadium everywhere. Someone designed it. All of it that keeps all this sound in, so all this noise, the stadium is loud as itself, but none of that noise goes anywhere. It comes right back into the stadium, into the ears of the opposing team.
2nd and 24. Mason with time, now trying to escape. Gets to the outside, still looking down the field, and he throws it incomplete, trying to get it to Graham Goring. Throw was a little bit behind Goring there, couldn't reach back and haul it in.
Another push. This was a 4-man push. No one really blitzing, but they twist, they stunt, they move everywhere. You get big number 99, Braden Bailey, chasing you down. Chase Mason almost was able to complete that. You kind of hold your breath every time he goes to throw it because you think he can make every throw, but it's just too good of a defense by the Grizz there.
Little cat and mouse here. Montana defensive coordinator Roger Cooper. Is it 4-man pressure, 5-man pressure? Does he bring a blitz or do they play it safe on 3rd and 24? Showing pressure from the outside. Picked up the blitz. Now Mason going to take off. He's got a long way to go. He's hit and dropped at the 34. Well short of the first down. Needed to get it out to midfield. That is Caleb Otluski.
Looks like on the left side of your screen, Peyton Wing is going to come. He timed that blitz really, really well. Lawford did a good job of picking it up, but when you got 25 yards to go, you know, congratulations on a 7-yard game. Defense, Coach Cooper won that matchup.
First punt of the game for the Jackrabbits. Max Pelham, Drew Deck is the return man. This is a wobbling kick, and we'll see where they mark it. The Montana coaching staff is selling that it didn't even cross midfield, and the officials are buying what they were selling. Wortham is the motion man. Ayat looking to throw.
Oh, I'm not, I feel you.
And he's got Wortham on the far sideline. A big chunk play there. Jordan, you've watched this offense all season long. That's a connection that you've seen a lot of.
That kid is so explosive, and Kaylee Ayats really came into his own this season, you know, as a young field general, but Michael Wortham is just so dangerous and poses so many issues for a defense, and it's so talented at South Dakota State.
And speak of the devil, he's back at quarterback. I mean, this is a fun wrinkle that they get to play with.
What an awesome athlete, an awesome toy to have your offensive coordinator, Brent Pease. Michael Wortham, quarterback, receiver, I mean, kick returner, he can do it all.
That's Monty Gilman on the speed sweep to the outside, dropped after a short gain there. So, Jordan, this is the family business for you, playing football at Montana. Your father, your grandfather, what is it about this program that has been such a family story?
I mean, it's just such a, it's a tradition that's built here year to year. And, I mean, when you come here as a kid and you get to watch them, and it's just a dream. And it's a dream come true if you're a kid from Missoula that gets to play in an atmosphere like this.
Ayat gives it to Gilman. Not a lot of room there. Runs into a wall of white jerseys. So the Brawl of the Wild a couple of weeks ago, Montana State comes out on top, and that's the reason that Montana today is playing South Dakota State instead of Yale.
Yeah, I mean, what a I mean, what a tough draw. I mean, South Dakota State's a top 4 team in the country. Everybody knows it. 2 of the last 3 national championships. I mean, they're a national contender this year, especially with a healthy Chase Mason. Tough draw for the Grizz.
Third down play here for the Grizz. Ayat fakes it, then flips it underneath. And that's going to be, it looks like just short of the first down. So a decision to make, Jeff, here with 4th down coming up.
Yeah, and for me, I would still go for it because you have speed and you have a little bit of space. The shovel pass didn't quite work, but I guess on the field level, what's your thoughts in this short yardage situation?
Well, you sound like an offensive guy, former running back. So I'm with you guys. I mean, I think you go for it. I completely agree. But, man, this South Dakota State defense has been stymieing the red zone so far today.
Ayat with Gilman to his left. Gilman bounces it out to the right side. Kind of gave a different look because you had Schaefer blocking to the left side, and normally you would follow the big tight end, but instead Gilman goes to the right.
Yeah, and anytime you see 84 moving, he's going to try and take somebody's head off, and so as a defense, you're aware of that. Nice misdirection by Coach Peets.
Third time today the Grizz have had it inside the 10-yard line, and this time they cash it in with a touchdown. Eli Gilman with his 18th rushing touchdown of the season.
Hey, your mate there up in the booth, the former running back, loves that. I can just tell you right now. Tote the rock, huh?
Absolutely, man. Keep your pads down. Hey, and you get the fullback, too, so you get Schaefer out there leading, and you get Gilman. This warms my heart. A power running game in the goal line territory. Touchdown.
We got some fireworks here, boys. Going for it.
Different look on the formation here. They snap it out to the wide side, going for 2. That was Brooks Davis trying to pick his way into the end zone. We get a cannon shot, even though they didn't get the 2, but the Grizz did get 6, and they take the lead. Jordan, man, thanks for your time. Enjoyed visiting with you.
Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. You guys have a good one today.
You as well. Stay warm down there. Grizz in front by 1, 15-14 over the Jacks.
Heck of a flight for Rhode Island.
It is. Got the chance to go to Davis last year during the second round, and it's a long way.
Well, a long way. 2 yards feels like a long way. Montana had shown this look earlier in the year and ran a similar fake to this. So as soon as they put that bunch formation over there, the one time they had shown this, they ran a direct snap and then they actually handed it off to Schaefer. So South Dakota State in film knew that was coming. They tried to run a change up off of it, but the Jacks were ready for it.
Jacks had to punt on their last offensive possession, the first punt of the game by either team. Now Chase Mason in the offense from the 25. He's rolling, and he's got some room, and he throws a strike to Alex Bullock. The arm strength on full display right there from number 7.
He has a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. I mean, he was a baseball prospect coming out of high school. He actually had offers in 4 different sports: basketball, track and field, baseball, and football to Division I programs. And he actually was drafted by the Braves.
Yeah, drafted by the Atlanta Braves. Turned down a little over $1 million signing bonus. Decided to play football. Actually started out at Nebraska as a baseball player. Did that for a semester and then said, nah, football is going to be it. He came to Brookings.
Not a lot on this play, but on the previous play, one of the things that Coach Dan Jackson is mentioning, that he doesn't like drop back passing all that much unless you got a guy like Chase Mason. But you're going to try and move the quarterback around. The previous play, they kind of do a half roll and let him run to the sideline, shorten the amount of read time he has. On this one, they run the quarterback. But Coach Jackson's a fan of getting the quarterback out from that stationary position behind the center.
James Basinger in the backfield now. Early in the season, it was all Loffridge in the running game. This pass incomplete. Good coverage. Micah Harper. Safety found himself one-on-one on the outside, and he broke that one up beautifully.
That ball was either a little too long or a little too inside. If you miss either direction, you could potentially go back and get a PI. If you're Jack Smith, if it's a little more outside, you can get a back shoulder ball. It was sort of in an unhappy middle zone.
Third down coming up here. 3rd and 8 for the Jacks. Finishing the thought about Loffridge, they felt like they were running him too much, and so the substitution pattern has been better with some young running backs. Mason with time over the middle, and it's broken up. That was Keon Loud with the pass breakup on a strike over the middle.
Excellent job there by the deep safety. He's playing in a zone, and he just drives on it to break up the ball. And Chase Mason not super happy that that ball got broken up. I think he wanted a little early contact, but I'm with the refs on this one. So far, very well called game by the officials, too.
And it looked like the contact was kind of shoulder to shoulder, kind of running through as opposed to grabbing or pushing with the hands.
And when the ball's in the air, the offense and the defense have an equal chance at the ball. So defender making a play on it, just like an offensive player making a play on it. Good job by Montana.
Drew Deck is the return man. He waits on the punt from Max Pelham, who's averaging 48.7 yards per punt. This was an end-over-end kick after Pelham shanked the last one. And now you got a little extra activity over on the Montana sideline. You had a hit that happened well out of bounds. I mean, fair catch had been made, 1 count, 2 count, 3 count, then you had the big hit. The most chippiness we've seen so far today has been in the kicking game.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, receiving team number 14. The penalty tap the distance to the goal line. It's 1st and 10.
Kyton Fife, number 47, he's the coverage guy for South Dakota State. You see the right side of your screen. He's trying to break it up. 13 keeps pushing it. Actually, that's a pretty decent acting job there by Fife. He looks like he's drawing 13 to him, but if you're an official, you're coming to that, your eyes are late. You see the Montana guy coming down on top of the South Dakota State guy. You're going to call that every time, although Oscar season's not too far around the corner. Is it too late for a nomination?
So it's Brock Beener who picks up the personal foul, and instead of having the ball at about the 18, they'll be back inside the 10-yard line to start this drive. Montana scores on their last couple of possessions, a field goal and then a touchdown. Complete to Blake Bohannon on first down. Good throw and catch for a gain of 8.
Yeah, easy access outs or easy access hitches. I think the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree has sort of made those even more comfortable and common as these quarterbacks have learned it over time. Get your foot in the ground. There is no defense for timing and ball placement.
Just 2 incompletions today. He's 13 of 15. Gilman tried to spin in the hole. Somebody had a hold of his jersey and wouldn't let go. Logan Green going to get credit with the tackle and bring up a 3rd down. And we got a flag down as well. Montana coming off a bye, so they got a week to rest after playing 12 straight in the regular season.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct, defense number 6. That's his first of the game. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
That is Jalen Lee who gets the unsportsmanlike conduct, and instead of 3rd down after the stop, it's a first down out at the 30.
And he's one of the better players in this secondary, so it's big that he has 1 unsportsmanlike, because if there's anything more unsportsmanlike, you get 2. And if he gets another unsportsmanlike penalty, he will be ejected from the game. So he's a little bit on thin ice already in this first half.
Didn't have a great look at what happened away from the ball there. But a big penalty against South Dakota State. And now Gilman goes to work. He's shifty in the hole, and he picks up 4 on first down.
I love his pace. He's a lot of times running backs, and as you get more comfortable and more experienced in a system, you understand where you have space. But one of the worst things you can do is just run. You don't want to, running back, but you're trying to just pick and feel where space is going to be. Yes, you make somebody miss. That was actually, this is going back to the penalty. You'll see number 6 come in late. But excellent pace by Gilman.
And it's incomplete. That was behind Blake Bohannon. Ball kind of hung perilously in the air there for a moment. Took the breath out of the stadium here. Going to bring up a 3rd down and 6.
Joe Ullman, number 11, middle linebacker there for the Jacks, cut underneath that one. So it's actually a good thing that was behind him, because if that was leading the receiver, I think number 11 has an interception. Ayat, pressure in his face, hit as he throws, and it's incomplete. Again,
in the direction of Bohannon. It was Cullen McShane that got the hit on the quarterback, caused the errant throw.
They actually brought both linebackers a really creative pressure. You see 11 was lined up from depth, but he's the first one in. And then number 5, starting up on the line of scrimmage, takes a couple steps back. And all that missed timing, it changes your blocking scheme. You think the guy on the line of scrimmage is the more immediate threat, so you put a body towards him. You leave number 11 unblocked, and they switch the order. South Dakota State doesn't bring a lot of pressure, but it's really effective when they do.
Ty Morrison with a good directional punt away from the receiver. It takes a Grizz bounce down to the 15-yard line. Isaiah Garcia Castaneda got away from that one in a hurry. 2:38 until the half. Jacks with 2 timeouts remaining. A 1-point lead for the Grizz, 15-14. Quarterfinals next weekend. Semifinals coming up on December 20th. And then this year, for the first time, the FCS National Championship game in Music City, Nashville.
Not a bad place to be a destination for the fans and the players.
And January 5th in Nashville, the weather could be anything. Absolutely anything. On the ground to start this drive, it's Josiah Johnson with a good run. Still got his feet going out across the 30. Brought down by T.J. Roush at the end of the play.
You're going to see a big block coming in from the right side. It was a zone read there. 47 by Montana was the read player. Nice job there by Johnson. And Johnson, when he gets in the open field, if he sees you squared up, he's running right through the 1 and the 0 of that Montana defender.
Give is to Johnson again, and this time he is wrapped up and dropped in the backfield. That's Tuliaupupu with the stop.
2-minute timeout.
That takes us to the 2-minute timeout. A 1-point game. The Grizz at home in front. Jackrabbits trying to get points before halftime. Coming your way on ESPN. 2nd down and 12. South Dakota State. 2 timeouts left. Mason over the middle. Got it to Bullock out across the 35. Another drag route across the middle of the field.
Goodness. I mean, he's fading away. This is all arm. So he's not really even stepping into this throw. His feet are going left. The ball's going right. And that thing was 85 miles an hour. The arm talent that this kid has is unbelievable.
Big 3rd down here for the Grizz defense. 1-point lead for the Grizz over the Jacks. Mason with time, quick throw, and a good open field tackle that was complete to Jack Smith. He is dropped immediately, and Montana takes a timeout.
Timeout. Montana, they're first of the half.
Got that open field tackle by Kenzel Lawler.
It's a big deal, and it's sort of a I know what you know that I know that you know. On a 3rd and short, 3rd and medium, especially with Mason in, they're going to try these shorter routes if they're going to drop back to pass. They're not going to take a shot downfield in that situation. So knowing that's the case, as soon as you see Smith make a break outside, you drive on that route. That is excellently coached by the defensive staff and excellently executed there by Lawler.
Lawler, in addition to being a good open field tackler, plays the piano. Transferred in from Utah, 4 years there, 20 to 23.
A big kind of choice here. You're in sort of field goal range-ish if you don't convert it. So you're kind of in a danger zone if you go for it and miss, but it looks like they're running the offense on the field. And I think that's just the confidence they have in their big boys to make this happen.
Hard count very much in play. Need to take the ball across the 40-yard line, and South Dakota State will take a timeout.
They're 2nd and a half, 30 seconds to wait.
Dan Jackson thinking about this one a little bit more. So 81 seconds until halftime. You go for it and you don't convert. You were feels like conceding at least 3 points.
But on the flip side, the percentages is really what you're playing here. It's the analytics, the sabermetrics of football, where if you punt the ball and the ball gets down at the 10-yard line, they've got an extra % chance of scoring. If you give it to them right here, they've got an X, but more than that. But the bet here is that Montana's a really good offense, and even if you give it back to them, there's a chance they score. So you could potentially possess the ball the entire rest of the half and not let that offense on the field. And I think that's the risk they're willing to take by going for it here.
Chase Mason and the offense come back onto the field after the timeout. Mason out of the gun. Maybe just going hard count. Will they run a play? Play clock down to 1. Flag comes in. It's a delay of game on the offense.
Delay of game. Offense number 7. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
And Garcia Castaneda across the formation, trying to make it look like they were going to run a play, and ultimately they will just punt it away.
This feels like a big moment for Montana. They were down. And also you see then some joy on the Montana side. We'll talk a little bit of trash there. Peyton Wing. But it feels like a big moment. If Montana can put points on the board, they were trailing most of the game until...
And it's blocked. Wobbling across midfield. Drew Deck comes up and saves some yardage, covering that one up at the 41-yard line. You'd love to sometimes be able to look into the future and see what the result is going to be to inform the decision you make. You don't get that chance.
And great job on the rush by Montana. You block kicks low, you block field goals high. You block punts low, you block field goals high. So you can see number 5 coming through. He's not putting his hands straight up in the air. He's trying to take it off the foot of the punter. And because that's a block, one of the other things that's interesting about this, it's tipped, but the ball goes beyond the line of scrimmage. That's essentially just as good as a punt. So by Deck coming up and fielding that, he's taking a risk. But if that ball continues to roll, that's 15, 20 yards of field position that you lose. Smart play by Deck to get up and secure that, even though it was a risk.
Ian Finch had the block. Now a quick pass to the outside. Bohannon, short gain, and the clock will roll. Dodderman with the tackle.
Yeah, Dodderman doing a really nice job there, rebounding from some early struggles in the game to play up on that. Montana's going to have to go pretty quick, even though they do have 2 timeouts.
Remember, Montana will get the ball to start the second half. This is complete to Wortham. He gets a block, trying to get to the outside. Wortham inside the 40-yard line. He is electric in the open field.
The general rule of thumb is that you need 1 second per yard to get down and score a touchdown at the end of the game. But if you're trying to get in field position, especially because of that big play, you got a little bit more time. They don't have to rush anymore.
From the 38, Ayat over the middle of the field. That is complete. Down to the 25-yard line. Another catch for Blake Bohannon, his 5th of the game.
Some people may look at that and go, that throw was low and he could have had more plays. You actually want to do that in a 2-minute situation across the middle. Throw your receiver to the ground so he can make a play and not make anything bad happen.
Ayat swing pass. He was trying to get it to Stevie Rocker on a little wheel. May have had to throw it a little earlier than he wanted.
That's defensive end Dawson Ripperton that's actually out in coverage. Nice job. He's a big, tall guy, 6'4", 255. And the coaching staff calls him kind of the heart and soul of that team. He's athletic, he's explosive, he's a great character guy. Nice play by Ripperton.
Montana can catch its breath just for a moment after the incomplete pass with the clock stopped. Eli Ayat. He's got Rocker in the backfield. Ayat with time, throws complete. That's inside the 15, and on the catch, Brooks Davis. He was the man that came in motion across the formation.
It's a freshman, and even as a freshman, he's really smart in understanding where the zones need to be set down into.
Montana now in a spot where they're playing, trying to go 2 for 1. This one incomplete toward Rocker, just kind of floated out that time by Ayat. 20 seconds until halftime. Winner of this game will meet the winner of Mercer and South Dakota. Not to spoil anything, it's going to be South Dakota running away from Mercer in that ball game in Macon, Georgia.
You don't think there's going to be a 50-point comeback?
I don't. Ayat from the pistol, fakes it to Rocker, takes a shot toward the end zone, incomplete, but a flag comes in. Probably a touchdown-saving hold on the outside by Donnerman. Or maybe it was Brett's.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense number 13. Penalties have the distance to the goal line and an automatic first down.
Double move by Deck on the outside, and Donnerman had to hang on.
Yeah, missing a player. I mean, again, Miles Taylor's out, Aiden Donnerman, not usually a starter. Montana is absolutely going at that. You're going to see the left side of your screen. Number 13's got a hold of Drew Deck there, and yes, it was a touchdown-saving tackle, but it also gives another first down. You got 2 timeouts left, 15 seconds. You can run the ball here if you want to.
Wortham got it and then flipped it to Gilman underneath. Gilman going to be dropped inside the 5-yard line, and a timeout taken by Montana with 9 seconds left. They've got 1 timeout remaining.
Timeout. Montana, their second of the half, 30 seconds to link.
South Dakota State in a spot where they are desperately trying to hold Montana to a field goal attempt.
And you really have 2 plays. Each play takes, especially in the red zone, it's not usually going to be longer than 5 or 6 seconds. So if you can make a quick hitter, a fade ball that takes 3 seconds off the clock, you might be able to take another shot. But you really have 1 play that you're going to try and get in the end zone. But because you have that timeout left, you can run the ball. If you're Ayat, you don't have to throw it away. You don't have to. If you see a running lane, take it, because getting tackled in bounds is not the end of the world. However, if you're waiting and waiting and waiting, scrambling and scrambling and scrambling, there does come a point where you've got to get rid of the ball and throw it into the first row of the stands.
Second round of the FCS playoffs. It is FBS championship weekend. Texas Tech with a resounding 34-7 win over BYU in Dallas. I guess Arlington, technically.
If anybody hasn't watched Texas Tech, you think the Graham Harrell offense, but it's a defensive team.
Ayat throws, touchdown! He gets it to Rocker, slipped out of the backfield. Ayat looked the other way, fired it back to his left. Montana executes perfectly for the score. Remember, they had the short field after the block punt.
Yeah, we were just highlighting Texas Tech's defense and how good it was, and Montana played the South Dakota State defense like a fiddle on that one. Excellent route concept that will show after this extra point.
Silver with the extra point, a cannon blast, and it's an 8-point lead for the Grizz, 22-14.
Yeah, Rocker is going to run an angle route, so he's going to run to his left, essentially like he's going to run a flat, and then as soon as he gets the defender to bite, he runs right up the field. And again, you're trying to throw it right to his belly. You're not trying to lead him up and get him a shot in the end zone. Excellent ball by Ayat.
My first game at Washington Grizzlies Stadium, and they're throwing, what, is it Twinkies?
I think I saw
it's like snack cakes they're throwing into the stands after the touchdown.
I've seen people throwing them from the back rows of the stands to the forward and forward back. We're sharing food up here.
I like it.
You're a Twinkie guy?
Of course. 6 seconds into the half, an 8-point lead for the Grizz. We'll see if they boom it deep or try to squib this one. Morrison is going to hit the squibber that will roll and go out of bounds. And then we've got flags in. We've got a field judge who's down on the sideline. He throws a flag as well.
And these are against Montana, and they'll be separate penalties. So what they're discussing right now is the enforcement of this penalty. One of them is likely going to be a late hit, which was accidental, but as Jack Smith was going for the ball, one of the Montana coverage guys hit him out of bounds. So that's likely a 15-yard penalty if they do call it.
On top of the fact that the kick went out of bounds, in which it would be spotted at the 35-yard line.
On top of that, as the referees run up and down the sideline, if anybody on the sideline interferes with them, then so you see the hat off of that line judge right there. So if his hat is off, what that means is that someone hit him on the sideline. So you're not allowed to do that. So what Montana was doing was coming out onto the field. It looks like the defense was trying to come on the field before the play was over. Line judge hits him. If they enforce all three of these penalties, there's a chance that it's free kick out of bounds and a late hit by Montana and interfering with the official. So there's a chance, and this is like 40 yards of penalties. I'm not exactly sure on the enforcement here, but there's a lot to talk about with the officiating crew. And a big moment, because if it is, that's 35-yard line plus 15, that gets it to midfield. They got a quarterback with a howitzer on his right arm. That puts them in scoring range.
Here is John Kellermeyer, our referee.
Kickoff out of bounds. Kicking team. The ball will be placed at the 35-yard line. After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Receiving team number 29. That penalty will be enforced from the 35. After the play, personal foul, late hit. Number 8. That penalty will be enforced half the distance to the goal line. It's first down, South Dakota State at the 10.
All right, so instead of those penalties going against Montana, you go 15 yards back and then half the distance back.
Interesting.
Let's watch.
So that right there, to me, if they're going to call it, they would say that would be incidental.
Okay, hold on. So you don't throw a flag on that, but you get the little push at the end.
That went a different direction than I expected it to. 21.
That draws a flag?
And everybody on the Montana side expected that flag to be on them. That's a big change of direction here.
I will raise my hand and say self-included.
Is the discussion that the enforcement might have been on the wrong team here? Because again, that changes the calculus of it. When you've got a guy with an arm like Mason, there's a chance, if it's towards midfield, that you can take a shot. I'm guessing that's what the discussion is the enforcement of the penalty, was it on the correct teams? Because as you and I saw, and as the audience saw, there was a big collision on the sideline, and everybody on the Montana sideline saw the flag go up and thought, look, that's on us, that's a bad thing.
Bobby Haupt, the head coach for the Grizz, in his second stint as the head coach. He was here in Missoula from 2003 to 2009.
Correction. Dead ball, personal foul, number 29 of the kicking team and number 8 of the receiving team. Those penalties will cancel. It's first down at the 35.
All right, so the only penalty that goes into effect is the kickoff out of bounds, placing the ball at the 35.
And the reason why that's not a replay the down, because if everything happened during the play, you have offsetting penalties, you essentially replay it. But the reason it's offsetting with just those two is because both happened after the play. Right. So the play already counted, you wash away the others, and boy,
a little confusion at the end, but what we have is a one-score break at the half. Montana trailed in this game. They've got the lead going into the locker room, 22-14. Washington Grizzlies Stadium in Missoula, Montana. That is a look. It's a 22-14 lead for the Grizz over the Jackrabbits. The Missouri Valley Conference, the Big Sky Conference, these are the two conferences that have dominated the FCS for the better part of the last 2 decades. Missoula here in Montana, Brookings back in South Dakota, 2 places where they care dearly for their football programs. Both sides, both coaching staffs, this feels more like a national semifinal or a national championship game than it does a second round game. South Dakota State in this spot. Their quarterback, Chase Mason, missed 5 games this season. They went 1-4 in his absence. Montana took its first loss of the season in the Brawl of the Wild. Little short pooch kick. That's a live ball, and a nice job by the up back there for Montana. That was 98. Mataafa.
Good hands for a defensive lineman there. Catching a very fast spinning back spinner. And this also, I was going to bring this up after halftime. The starting field position has been much better for Montana than it has been South Dakota State. Montana started drives on their own 45, the South Dakota State 46, and their own 41, whereas the best starting field position South Dakota State has is their own 35. Montana, big advantage in special teams so far.
Ayat hands it off to Gilman on first down. Scampers around and gains a couple. Austin Ripperda brought him down on the play. South Dakota State coming into this game with a 9-4 record. 11-1 for the Grizz of Montana. Lost by a field goal in their in-state rivalry game. Got the week off after 12 straight weeks. It was a team that needed a little time to rest. Good move in the open field by Wortham as he cuts it back to the inside, takes it across the 45 for a first down.
Michael Wortham, he's everywhere. He's quarterback, he's going to catch the ball. And I don't think I've seen this before. He was on the all-conference team twice. First team All-Big Sky as an all-purpose player and a second team receiver. Very talented player.
Tight end out of the backfield, and Schaefer had his feet go out from under him. That's his 11th catch of the season. He is a load.
Come on, buddy. The fullback blocking tight end position doesn't get enough respect. And then you get the chance to have some fun, and you go and do something like that.
Malai Fanoti is in the game in the backfield as Wortham lines up in the shotgun. Gilman, the motion man. They give it to Gilman, trying to get to the outside, and he is wrestled down by Kobe Bretz, who grabbed a handful of jersey and then wouldn't let go.
That was a really nice play. If he doesn't make this play, Gilman is out the gate. But we mentioned earlier, one of the best things you can do is turn it back to your buddies. And getting to the outside shoulder of Gilman allowed his friends to actually get there and not let that big play happen.
Yacht back in at quarterback. Third-year sophomore. On the gun with time, lets it fly. One-on-one on the outside. Bohannon trying to haul it in, and he couldn't hang on. Pretty good coverage there by Jalen Lee down the field. Or was that Isaiah Johnson? I think it's Lee and Johnson that were there.
I think Jalen Lee was the primary cover guy, and he's actually a converted corner. Actually, yeah, you're right. There's both 0 and 6, but Lee's a converted corner, so he knows how to play the ball. He was just so physical, they moved him back to safety. And one of the things that Montana didn't do there is they didn't give the quarterback enough space. When you're running along the sideline, there's nowhere to put that ball.
Movement and a flag before the snap.
I don't think everybody got set. Montana?
False start. Offense, number 8, 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Yeah, back to that pass. It's not a bad idea on a 3rd and 7 or 8 to take a shot way down the field because they're expecting pass, but they're not expecting bomb. One of my offensive coordinators called that the 4-yard highway, where you have to give 4 yards off the sideline for Ayat to put that ball in. Just didn't quite get enough space.
Isaiah Garcia Castaneda back to receive this punt. It's going to hit. It's going to roll toward the end zone. A touchback. When Montana so close to covering that one, Garcia Castaneda decided not to try to pick it up on the bounce, to roll the dice on the touchback, and he got it.
Rolling the dice on Tanner Huff is not a good idea. He's a first-team all-conference special teams player, and he's a gunner. He's a guy that is so good on special teams that the other coaches in the conference thought that he deserved to be a first-team All-Big Sky player, even though he's a backup safety. That's the type of guys you want on your team, and just about made a big play for his team.
Jackrabbits with the football down to score their first possession of the second half after forcing the punt from the Grizz. On the ground, this is Josiah Johnson. 6th carry of the game for Johnson. Julius Loffridge only with 3 carries in the game today. Loffridge comes back in now, number
15. This defense for Montana is weird enough that if you think that one guy's going to see it better than the other, even if he's a backup, finding a lane is not the same against this Montana team as it is against other teams that you're going to play.
Play clock down to 5. Mason gets the snap. Takes a shot, and it's incomplete. Some hand fighting down the field, trying to get that to Alex Balak. Yeah, TJ Roush step for step with him.
Roush doing a really nice job. You just need to be pesky as a defensive back sometimes. You don't want to get a lot of contact, but a bunch of little contact is okay. You're going to watch him. He's going to be on the left side of the coverage. Now, there's a little bit of hands, but Bullock is pushing against him, and you're just trying to be nosy enough that it throws off the rhythm of that pass.
Roush was the safety coming over the top. That was Micah Harper in coverage. Third down. Mason over the middle. He's got a tight end wide open on the catch. That time, Grayton Gannon out across the 40 to the 42-yard line. A big third down conversion there for the Jacks.
And it looks like the Jacks are wanting to go fast. They must like the personnel grouping that's on the field right now for Montana as run versus zone, sit versus man. If you got an open lane to the quarterback, don't run out of it.
First catch of the game for Gannon. Back to the air, and again, a lot of contact out there. That time it was Keon Loud in coverage. He was locked up with Graham Goring.
Yeah, Graham Goring, I think if you want to draw that foul, you got to get your chest away from the defender. If your hands and your chest are facing that defensive player, it doesn't look to the officials like you're trying to break away from that contact. So he's not holding you from anything if you're not trying to go anywhere. So Goring's got to do more to draw that penalty of going towards the ball and making that call obvious. Nice job by the officials to not throw anything on that play.
Goring at the top of your screen, Balak at the bottom. Balak now in motion to the top of the screen. And the handoff is underneath to Lockridge, and he is met at the line by Otluski.
We've mentioned a few times earlier, they don't go by gaps. They go by cloudy or clear. All you're trying to do with the defensive line is eat up bodies, create chaos. Then your linebackers, all of whom can play every other position between Otluski, Wing, and Tuliaupupu, they can all play every other position. So Otluski there is just seeing an opening and fitting it like a running back does behind his offensive line.
Gannon found a soft spot in the middle of the field on the last third down for South Dakota State. Mason goes back over the middle. It's Gannon again for another first down.
That's why that kid is a first-team All-Valley receiver, a tight end, using his body. Everyone always uses the expression post up. You know, like a basketball player, you get your body on the defender. When you have a guy who's as accurate as Chase Mason is, if you just get your shoulder or your back on the defender, if the quarterback puts it in the right spot, it's not defensible if you get to where you need to go.
So a couple of third down conversions on this drive. Goring goes in motion. It's Lockridge on the carry, and he'll lunge toward the 40-yard line. They'll mark him just short of the 40.
It seems like Montana's kind of creeping up as we get some chippiness on the field here between the lines. Montana seems like they're creeping up. They're trying to break towards the line of scrimmage on these passes. South Dakota State, if they want to take a shot downfield, likely has a double move the way that Montana's defensive backs are playing their receivers. See, every defensive player has, looks like Diesel Wilkinson is the deepest at 8 yards.
Mason with time, and it's incomplete. You had Balak trying to break away from that defender, Lawler. And another third down coming up.
Just like baseball umpires, referees are going to give you the same thing. You know, if an umpire in baseball is going to give you some pitches outside the black, they're going to give it to both sides. They're letting the defensive backs play physical. Montana's just taking more advantage of it than South Dakota State has so far.
Well, they try to go to Gannon in the middle again. Mason is flush, trying to get away, runs away from the first tackler, now takes a shot, and it's incomplete. He was trying to get it to Isaiah Garcia Castaneda. Castaneda got it on his fingertips, but couldn't haul it in.
It's just a good pass rush. They brought 5 guys, and you see number 97, Hayden Schwartz, is going to be the one that forces him there. But then number 57, Jake Mason, is the one that pushes him all the way out to the side. That ball just didn't come down enough. And now a punt from the 41-yard line. If this ball goes in the end zone, it's a net 20 yards. They're just outside of where they could potentially think about going for it.
Pelham hits this one end over end. Fair catch called for it. Hits inside the 5. Can they keep it out of the end zone? Yes. Looks like it's down at the 1-yard line. What a great job on special teams that time by South Dakota State, although they are discussing it. Temperatures just above freezing as Gilman tries to get to the outside and does. That's a good first down run. Gain of 7, maybe 8 on the carry for Eli Gilman.
You mentioned he's the Offensive Player of the Year. Santa, big fan of the snow here on the mountains. You know, he was driving early. I love college football. Early on in the intro, they were tubing on the field with the mascot of the Grizz in a truck driven by Santa. A real sentence that I just said.
Gilman gets to the outside. What a patient run. Wrestled out of bounds at the 46.
In the first half, we mentioned just the patience and pace that he plays with. As a ball carrier, when you have the football, no tackle can be made on somebody who doesn't have it. So every defensive player is looking at you, which means you control where they go. So by putting someone in or putting a defender inside by slowing your pace down, it allows you to make that cut outside. He's just a very smart football player.
Gain of 18 there by Gilman. He gets a break, and Malai Fanotti into the game. Carries it on first down. Gilman now over 100 yards. 17 carries for 103 and a score. He's averaging 6 yards per carry.
When we talk with Brent Peace, you know, it's not necessarily exactly like a touch count. Like, you don't need the Randy ratio, but you do want to get the ball to your best players a good number of times. And they said that they want to get the ball to Gilman at least 25 times somehow. Hand it to him, throw it to him. So far, they're on pace for it.
Wortham, another guy where they want to make sure that they get the ball in his hands. This is Fanotti again. He runs for a first down, is brought down by Jaden Oliver.
Montana's offensive line and tight ends are doing a really nice job of setting the point. Now, you don't need to open a giant hole, especially if you're running a zone blocking scheme, because you let the running back pick. You let the running back say where you're going to go. So just covering your guy up entirely allows the back to pick and choose where he wants to go. And offensive line and tight ends do an awesome job so far.
To the air, that's complete to Drew Deck. Montana came into this game averaging almost 41 points per contest. The South Dakota State defense giving up just a shade under 20 a game. This defense had a big goal-to-go stop early in the first half on 4th down. Deck again. We're going to avoid the hit and then lunge for extra yardage at the end. Another Grizz first down.
It's another one of those Sooner corners. And what I mean by Sooner corner, anytime the ball is to the boundary, meaning the small side of the field, so the ball's in the right hash, the right side of the offense becomes the short side. The corner to that side has the choice to blitz. If you see it, the safety sometimes doesn't know because the corner has the choice. If the corner chooses to blitz, the safety will almost always be late to rotate. If you see it as an offense, there's always that quick, easy hitch to the corner.
Gilman back in, and they immediately hand it to it, trying to once again bounce it to the outside. Aaron Wolfcale-Holston gets the tackle and able to corral Gilman on that carry.
Good job by Wolfcale-Holston. Just creating and finding space, especially as the blocker comes around. This part of the field, the Montana coaching staff calls the gold zone, anywhere between the 38 and the 25. And what part of the gold zone, it's kind of the grind zone. It's the stuff on the field where you kind of have to get through it. Once you get through it, you're in the red zone, and you can become in the scoring territory. if they were able to convert this first down, expect to see Michael Wortham in some funky situations.
Wortham in the slot, empty backfield. Ayat, one-on-one, outside. Touchdown, Grizz. Drew Deck with his third touchdown catch of the season.
Those young Grizz fans are happy for a reason. In prepping for this game, it's my first time being able to watch Keali'i Ayat. His deep ball from, if he's on his own 20, his deep ball is okay. His fade balls into the end zone when you're in that grind zone are incredible. And he's got 4 different receivers that can go get that one. I think what they're looking for is to see if that ball hit the ground. Either way, that ball is
on the field
incredible.
The touchdown is under review.
So was Drew Deck able to complete the process of the catch. John Kellermeyer going to head down and take another look.
The big question is going to be is if the ball hit the ground and caused any bobble or lack of control. It's hard to see from that angle because his body is in front of it, but it looked like the ball started to move a little bit after he hit the ground. To me, this one's coming back. Again, the ball is allowed to hit the ground, but if the ball shifts and your possession changes from before it hit the ground to after you hit the ground, then the ground had an effect on it, therefore it would come off the board.
Yeah, it really looked like Deck secured the ball through the ground, and then when he was rolling over onto his back, was almost like trying to kind of pull it in. And that's where you see the movement. Look closely here.
And you do have to survive the ground. So the ball looks like it hits just inside of his left arm. And if it's shifting at all, then you don't survive the ground as a receiver.
The ruling on the field is upheld. Touchdown.
So call me wrong twice. You've got both reviews wrong. But
you get no points.
No points for me. 6 points for Montana. But again, Keali'i Ayat, is an elite fade ball thrower. And he's got a guy in Drew Deck and Brooks Davis can both go get it. Huge drive to make it a 2-score game.
Trying to make it a 15-point lead is Joe Silver, who hit the upright on his first extra point try of the game. Has been good since as a field goal. Ooh, and he slipped that one in the right upright. 15-point lead for Montana. South Dakota State with the ball when we come back. Into the end zone. Jack Smith will take a knee. And we got to catch up on break, so we'll take a quick timeout. 29-14, Montana leading it over South Dakota State. 29-24, Grizz leading it over the Jackrabbits. A buzz just went through the stadium. They put a shot on the video board of somebody with their phone out with a score update from Fargo, a shocker. The Illinois State Redbirds beat North Dakota State 29-28. Number 1 has gone down. Only loss of the year for the Bison happens in the Fargo Dome in the second round of the playoffs. On the ground, good first down run for Josiah Johnson. 7th carry of the game for Johnson.
To come back to that North Dakota State, I don't mean this in any hyperbole or exaggeration. That's the upset of the year in all of Division I. North Dakota State, not only had they been winning, they had been killing everybody. They've only beat 2 teams by less than 17 points. To lose at home in the second round, that is unbelievable for Illinois State.
Johnson on the ground, and he is maybe going to get back to the line of scrimmage. Odlewski with the tackle.
First team All Big Sky, Peyton Wing doing another good job of going through that clear read. Again, it's cloudy and clear. It's not gaps. If you see a space to go get the ball carrier, you go do it. He missed, but his teammate cleaned him up.
Mason on the give out across the 35. That is a hard 2 yards with a first down for Josiah Johnson. So Illinois State will now take on the winner of UC Davis, Rhode Island. That game coming your way tonight at 10 Eastern time on ESPN2 out in Davis, California.
For all intents and purposes, that shifts the entire balance of power in FCS. The road to the title, I think, goes through the state of Montana now.
The flag came from the referee. Discuss as to whether or not Jacks broke the huddle at 12, I think.
Illegal substitution. Offense, they broke the huddle with 12 players. 5-yard penalty. It's first down.
Fortunate that comes on first down instead of third down a moment ago.
See, there's somebody comes, somebody leaves, but it's always the official's job to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, 4 and 11 there.
When they broke the huddle, they were running one on. So first and 15, South Dakota State. Johnson to the outside. But really focused on trying to get the running game going.
South Dakota State, that's kind of what they set everything up off of. You know, obviously Chase Mason's got a great arm, but everything is run first, play action. You got to establish line of scrimmage. They've only got 54 yards rushing at this point in the game. This defense has got to be very impressive to Bobby Howell.
Mason, pressure in his face, buys some time, throws over the middle, incomplete. It was intended for Coleman Kuntz. He did have Malak kind of flashing behind the play. Brings up a third down.
And the hard part about this defense is you don't know where anybody's coming from. Because in there they had 2 safeties blitz, all of your linebackers dropped, and your defensive line twisted. So who's coming? You don't know where to set your protection to. And in protection, a foot matters. From if I hit the guy square in the body or if I get him on the shoulder, it's a huge difference. So this defense for Montana has been confusing South Dakota State for the better part of a quarter and a half.
It is loud inside Washington Grizzly. Mason, third down throw through the hands of Goring. Keon Loud was there in coverage, and it's punting time and danger zone time for the Jackrabbits.
Danger zone is right. That ball just had a little bit too much heat on it and a little bit too high. If that ball is on his body, he actually might convert that. But now you're down 2 scores, and you're giving it back to an offense that's got 402 total yards. Your defense has not done anything since you had that 13-6 or that 14-6 lead. This is a big moment in the game because 3 scores against this offense is going to be hard to come against.
Nearly another block punt. Let's take a peek at the FCS scoreboard. There's very clearly one that is different than the others as the number 1 seed North Dakota State Bison go down 29-28. Rittenhouse completed a pass with a minute left. They went for 2 and converted. Villanova over Lehigh, South Dakota over Mercer. Tarleton has beaten North Dakota. You got Montana State, the Bobcats leading it over Yale in Bozeman. And a good one between Abilene Christian and Stephen F. Austin, knotted at 24. Here is Gilman. He's got some room, makes a man miss in the open field and picks up another 8 yards or so after the missed tackle. That's a first down carry for Gilman as he continues to add to his total.
Another thing that great running backs do, and I think James Cook for the Buffalo Bills does this better than everybody, is you never get a clear shot on him. You're always going to hit an arm or an ankle. It's never a clear shot in his hip. The same thing happened on that last play.
Gave him a couple on first down there out across the 40-yard line. Alongside Jeff Woody, Richard Cross with you from Missoula on an absolutely perfect day for football. Yes, I know it's cloudy. Yes, I know it's 36. That makes it perfect.
In December football, is kind of as you're passing coaches on the stairwell at the stadium. I said, "Oh, beautiful morning." And that coach goes, "It's always beautiful in December when you're still playing."
Ayat fakes it. He's got a man in his face and had to unload that one faster than he wanted to, trying to get it to Schaefer. Kobe Claiborne, who's wearing 95 today instead of his normal 94. Right there in the face of Ayat.
Kobe Claiborne, first team all Missouri Valley. He plays defensive tackle, plays defensive end. He's a super, super smart player, and that run action away did not fool him. He went right at Ayat.
One of the captains for the Jackrabbits, Kobe Claiborne.
Big moment here for the South Dakota State defense. A touchdown on this drive becomes almost an insurmountable lead, but a false start's going to help the defense's case.
Well, you saw the entire defensive line react that time from South Dakota State.
False start, offense, number 72, 5-yard penalty, third down.
Reason everybody moved is because everybody was looking at the ball, and that was Klimzak, the center, who moved early.
Sat next to his grandparents on the flight up here. Nice people, the Klimzak.
There you go. Is that on your flight that took a little longer than you planned?
7-hour flight from Denver through Bozeman.
Ayat buying time, throws. What a nice grab by Brooks Davis. Ayat with a little bit of time, sliding out to his left, hit a crosser.
We're going to need to come back to that play at some point for importance. That's 3rd and 11. You're up by 2 scores again. This is a huge moment for the South Dakota State defense because you need to keep this within a 2-score game. You only got 15, 16 minutes left to go. You're not going to have a ton of possessions. Montana can put not a kill shot because it's still a good South Dakota State team, but a 3-score lead and getting in the end zone makes this difficult. Huge conversion on 3rd down.
Rocker on the carry, and he is met. Big number 91, Chase Seiford with the tackle.
I hope the microphones picked up the audible groan from the crowd of ooh.
Play clock and the game clock, enough difference that Montana will head to the sideline, let those final 15 seconds run off, and the Grizz will take a 2-score lead into the 4th quarter. They do not allow any points in the 4th. They put a touchdown on the board. 29-14 as we go to the final 15 minutes.
That's the end of the 3rd quarter play. Timeout.
Little pizza delivery from Santa Claus to the students. I believe the university president, Seth Bodner, involved in passing out those pizzas to students as well. I don't know when the shirtless and spin the shirts above your head became a thing. I know it was a big deal at Oklahoma State this year. And it seems to be taking over.
You know, I'm here for it.
Chilly for that, but okay. Out of the backfield, this is Rocker. 3rd down coming up, and once again, a big 3rd down for this Jackrabbits defense, trying to get off the field to give their offense a chance to tighten this game up.
And why is it such a big down? So far, each team has had 9 drives. This is Montana's 9th drive. Okay, there's been 3 quarters. 9 divided by 3. That's 3 possessions per quarter. You're down by 2 scores. If they go up by 3 scores, you have to score a touchdown on every possession the rest of the game. They need to get a stop here to keep this game within reach.
Gilman back in alongside Ayat. Ayat to the air. Completes it to Wortham. That is a 1st down with a little move. Made a man miss. Got an extra yard or 2, and then we'll move the chains. By the way, I was following your math on that just a second ago. That was high level.
That's Midwestern math there. But when you need a big play, who are you going to go to? You're going to go to 10 or 6. But they've got guys like Deck and Brooks Davis that can do other stuff with it too.
That's Wortham running it straight ahead out of the Wildcat. Down to the 30-yard line. Pyle still moving. They're going to give him 9 yards on the carry.
62 Everett Johnson excited at the end of that. I really like, this is a new rule that they've allowed. Like, you're not, you know, the Reggie Bush tush push thing, that originally was illegal to push the ball carrier from behind, but it's so hard to legislate. I really like that they've allowed that to happen so these scrums can move the ball.
Ayat down the middle of the field. Touchdown! Wortham with the catch. And the Grizz are now feeling it here in Missoula. fourth touchdown pass of the day for Keali'i Ayat.
In the EA NCAA football game, what are the levels? You know, it's like freshman and JV and varsity All-American and Heisman. Okay, the difficulty level for South Dakota State just went from All-American to Heisman level difficulty, because now they're down 35, potentially 36 to 14. They've got to score 22 points in 13 minutes. And they also have to hold an offense that had 480 yards to not scoring. That was a massive drive for Montana.
In one of the most picturesque settings in all of college football, feels like a party has broken out inside Washington Grizzlies Stadium as the Grizz lead it 36-14, and these Grizzly fans are feeling it with 13:21 to play. Grizz win, they will be back here again next Friday or Saturday. This kick is returnable. Garcia Castaneda. Actually, it's Brendan Begeman on the return, and he finally goes down. You know what? Third time's a charge. We're going to get it eventually. What a day for Ayat throwing the football. 4 touchdown passes in the game.
And the thing that's been the most impressive is how calm he's been under pressure. There's not really been anything to rattle him. And whether he's in pressure, whether he's scrambling, he's just been able to deliver the ball where he needs to every time.
This ball knocked out at the very end. That's an incomplete pass for Balak. You had Prince Ford right there, and he batted it away. The hesitation there, that was Miles Green's number on that return. We have not seen him defensively today, maybe able to go on special teams. So apologies for that. 21 there on the return for South Dakota State. Gave him good field position. 2nd and 10 here from the 38.
Every play here is magnified because of the game situation and where we are in the season.
Mason lets it fly. He's got a man, turned him around, hauled it in. What a catch for Alex Balak. Deep into Grizzlies territory, exactly what the Jackrabbits needed.
Earlier in the game, we mentioned you didn't give the quarterback enough room. This one's a slot fade. It's giving the quarterback plenty of space to put the ball outside away from the defender. Nice job by both Balak and Mason. We got ourselves a false start here, making our jobs a little harder.
Willenberg at right guard moved a little early.
Start. Offense, number 54, 5-yard penalty, first down.
You know, Shane Willenberg is actually listed as the center on their depth chart, but they rotate their offensive linemen from position to position all the time. So he's playing more guard today, and that's also because Sam Hagan, number 76, is a potential NFL draft pick, is back. This is his first game returning after a knee injury, and he's playing here in the critical moments of the season.
Basinger in the game at running back, off the left hip of Chase Mason. Mason looking to the left, didn't see anything. Now he'll flip it out of bounds, incomplete in the direction of Balak.
Sort of a must touchdown drive. You're down 22 points. You need to have 3 touchdowns. One of them has to be a 2-point conversion. You don't have enough drives to go for a field goal here. So this is absolutely 4-down territory. It's only 2nd down, but you've got to start planning the rest of these drives.
11th meeting all time. Montana leads the series 8-2. South Dakota State has won the last 2. This pass is caught. Probably could have thrown a flag for an early bump. Graham Goring did a good job kind of cradling that one in.
I think Mason threw it so hard it just stuck to him.
Mason looks toward the end zone, fires, it's Goring, incomplete, knocked away at the very end.
Kenzel Lawler again, that's the 2nd time on this drive The first time was Prince Ford. The second time is fighting all the way through the play. Yes, looks like Goring got both hands on the ball, but it's battling all the way through. And the same thing, you have to survive the ground. He had it, he had a foot down, but he did not survive the ground. Incomplete pass, excellent defense.
Second and 10 from just outside the 10. Jackson get a first down without a touchdown. That ball is complete. That's Sammy Dressy with his first catch of the game, just his 5th catch of the year.
As I mentioned before, this is 4-down territory. So you have 3rd and 3. You're on. You can technically get a first down. So you can take a shot at the end zone knowing that you're going to go for it on 4th down. So Montana can't just count on South Dakota State trying to get the conversion. This is an end zone or the first down goal. So everything's on the table for South Dakota State offensively.
And Jackson knows his team needs 6, down 22. Closing in on 11 minutes to play. Garcia Castaneda was the motion man, and we get a whistle before the snap. Flag on the play. It's going to be a false start.
False start. Offense, number 88. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
That's Brayton Gannon, and it will make the job a little more difficult for the Jackrabbits here.
So now you have a best case scenario for South Dakota State, get in the end zone. Next best case scenario is make it a manageable 4th down so you don't have to complete a 4th and 8 from your own 10-yard line. So you have kind of a checklist in your head if you're Chase Mason, what you need to do with the ball. And one of those options is run to shorten this 4th down if you don't see somebody open.
Chase Mason does have 5 rushing touchdowns this season, including 1 today. 3 receivers, bottom of the formation. Mason fires, complete to Goring. If he didn't get in, he did get a first down. They're going to say short of the goal line, but a 1st and goal for the Jackrabbits.
And we're going to see if his shin did touch the ground. This is another, just drive the ball, throw it so hard it sticks. If his right shin hits the ground, there's a chance this is down, but I don't know. I think he's rolling on top of the defender.
But did the ball ever get to the goal line, though, even with that roll?
Heck of a spot there by the officials. I think you're right. I think he did sit on top of the defender, but it looks like Peyton Wing had enough of the ball.
Well, they're going to take a look now. That angle makes it look.
That's a flag. That's a 12 in the formation.
Prior to the offense breaking the huddle, timeout, South Dakota State, their first of the half.
Boy, that is big. You do that to avoid the penalty. But down 22 with 10:22 to go, those timeouts are precious.
They absolutely are. That is a self-inflicted mistake.
Media timeout.
36-14 our score. South Dakota State knocking on the door, but time is not on their side. Foundation, you can join the fight against cancer by visiting v.org/donate. 100% of your donation goes directly to cancer research. Flags come in.
And we're going to see, though, this might be a neutral zone infraction where if you yell boo or shift, they might actually consider that drawing the offensive movement. So Montana had a very quick movement, a very sharp movement.
Delay game, disconcerting signals, defense number 90. The penalties have to distance to the goal line and first down.
Jared Ramos, I mean, why not? Yeah, I was going to say, why not? I mean, you might get a cheap penalty there. And it was that movement late that you saw the right tackle and Hagan move.
Disconcerting signals means you made some sound that makes the offensive line move. Correct interpretation, correct call.
All right, well, they go quarterback sneak again here with Chase Mason. Mason straight ahead, reaches the ball out. No signal yet. There it is. Well, now a touchdown. Touchdown signal. Sorry for the anticlimactic call there. Referee coming in from the far sideline, signaled touchdown, then he dropped an arm, and then he raised both arms again.
And now, so they're going to go with a quarterback sneak. I think he was pretty convincingly in. But now the offense is staying on the field. You're down 22 points. You need 3 touchdowns. One of them has to be a 2-point conversion. You need to know what you're playing for later. You don't want to kick the extra point and have to get a 2-pointer later. You kind of want to set yourself up for being able to kick those extra points in the more pressure situations later in the game.
The ball from the left hash. Mason will move as he spreads the formation out. 36-20 with 10:18 remaining after the second rushing touchdown of the day for Mason. He's looking back to the left. He's got an eligible man wide open. That is John Pica. They changed his jersey on the sideline to an eligible receiver number, and he makes the catch.
That was the plan the entire time. During the TV timeout, John Pica, number 56, the right tackle, ran back to the sideline. They put number 83 on it. They knew they were going to run the quarterback sneak. At the point when they get it, we're going to run this play, throw it to number 83, catch the defense off guard after motioning our Quentin Christensen to a slot receiver position. God, I love December football.
Pulling out all the stops. It's a 14-point game with 10:18 to go. Back to Missoula after this. It's a 14-point lead for Montana, the number 3 seed in the FCS playoffs. This is a second-round game here in Missoula. South Dakota State, 9-4. They had 4 consecutive losses starting on October 25th and going through the middle of November. A win in the final regular season game at North Dakota, a win last week over New Hampshire. And now trying to go onside kick, but it didn't go 10 yards. And it's recovered by Montana. A gamble, and so instead of doing that, perhaps when you think Ian Finch with the recovery, when Montana's ready for it, you gamble early.
Game of inches. He missed his spot on the ball about an inch too high. It had too much topspin, and it caught and checked up like someone hitting a 60-degree wedge on the green. Good idea at the time if you execute it, but the problem is now your defense is in an odd position. They've got the ball on the 44.
The ruling on the field is the ball was recovered by Montana. It's first down. Please put 10:18 on the game clock. 10:18.
Just a clarification for the referees, but now they've got the ball on the 43-yard line. They were only maybe 5 to 10 yards away from field goal position to make it back into a 3-score game because they still are down 14 points.
Receiving team can recover anywhere, anytime. If the kicking team touches the ball before 10 yards, it's a penalty for illegal touching. So now Ayat to the air, gets it to Wortham. Wortham breaks a tackle. Nearly had a chance with a lane to the end zone.
Dawson Ripperda just saved the touchdown right there.
Was that a backward pass? It was really, really close.
I think the intent was to just get Wortham the ball and worried to have not caught it. Yeah, I think it would have been backwards, but something to watch out for, too, if they want to be really gutsy, is to replay that play and have him throw the ball down the field. Another late substitution by Montana. I sometimes call this the Gundy rule. No, Gundy's no longer at Oklahoma State, but he was the king of Senley's late substitutions for the defensive line.
Wortham at quarterback. He'll pick up a couple, and a third down is coming up.
It's about a 55, 56-yard field goal from here, which is, in this weather, doable, but it looks like they're a little bit into the wind. So this is a really long kick. The flags aren't moving in the stadium on the goalposts, but the flags high up outside the stadium do look like it's a bit into the wind. So they're going to want to convert a first down before they get a comfortable field goal here, but I think this is 4-down territory just from where it is on the stadium, or in the field.
Allowing the play clock to work its way down. They flip it to Davis. Brooks Davis going to be able to run for the first down. Faked it to Gilman, flipped it to Davis on the end around, and the misdirection works beautifully.
I'm a big baseball fan, and you look at Yamamoto for the Dodgers, and he's got 6 pitches. You don't know what's coming. He's got a good fastball, good curveball, good everything. Montana's a little bit like that. They've got Gilman, they got a fastball, they got Wortham, a curveball, but they have these other guys that can just do a different thing. So who do you stop? It's 3rd and 3. Well, let's load up for Gilman. Let's find Wortham. And they have Brooks Davis on a reverse for 15 yards.
Closing in on 8 minutes remaining. This time it's a handoff underneath to Gilman, and good pressure as Dawson Ripperda blows that one up in the backfield.
They are in field goal range right now, though, which is a big deal because 14 points is a 2-score lead. 16 points, still a 2-score lead, but a field goal makes it 17, which requires another set of 3 possessions. There's only 7 minutes and 45 seconds left. You're probably not going to get 3 unless you convert an onside kick somewhere. So this is a big set of downs for South Dakota State to keep them in difficult field goal range.
Wortham lined up at the quarterback. Trying to get to the outside, being chased, nearly wrestled down, but somehow keeps his footing. He's going to pick up a couple of yards on the play.
It's a big 5 yards. You know, everything right now, in order to win a football game, you need more points when the clock hits 0. So points matter, but time matters too. So you're trying to
After a quick review, the runner was down at the 30-yard line, 3rd down.
So those huge 5 yards went the other direction.
Okay. I'm going to say Kobe Bretz was able to wrestle into the ground. The knee was down at the 30. So 3rd and long here. Montana's going to be able to take this inside 6.5 minutes to play before they snap it. Ayat looking to go to the air. He completes it to Bohannon, who works to the inside. He gets inside the 15. That is down close to a 1st down. He's going to be a yard short. Joe Ullman brought him down. 4th down here for Montana, and decision time for Bobby Howe. Your point about a field goal is a great one. You convert a 1st down here, you can almost end this game.
It becomes really, really difficult in either possession. The only way that South Dakota State stays in this game is if they get a stop on this down. A conversion on 4th down or a made field goal are both good for Montana.
Had a 4th down stop early in the ball game. That was inside the 5-yard line. Ayat, the motion man is Schaefer. They give it to Gilman. Not going to get a stop this time. Gilman fights his way down to the 11. 1st down, Montana.
Now, for those of you doing clock math, every set of downs every down has a 40-second play clock. 40 seconds times 4, because you get 4 downs, is 160 seconds. That's just over 2 minutes, based on snap and running and whatever. So that conversion burns another 2 minutes and some change off the clock. It's 5:13 right now. Just this set of downs is going to take it under 3 minutes.
Five minutes to play. Ayat fakes the throw, hands it off behind his back. Gilman with the exclamation mark into the end zone for the Grizz. What a play design. Ayat fakes the throw, gives the arm fake, and then just hands the ball off to Gilman behind his back, and Gilman races for the pylon.
If Wortham is the curveball, Brooks Davis is the slider. They went back to their fastball in an unconventional way. The Statue of Liberty fake pass handed off behind the back to your offensive player of the year in the Big Sky to get it back to a 3-score lead with 3 touchdowns. Montana and Eli Gilman may have just punched their ticket to the quarterfinals.
4:54 to play. Gilman with his 2nd rushing touchdown of the day. With 4:54 to play, trying to set up a date with South Dakota right here at Washington Grizzly Stadium next weekend.
You might have heard as we were coming back from commercial me saying 524 yards. That's how many Montana has in this game against a really good defense in South Dakota State. That is an impressive offensive showing for the Montana Grizz.
Better than their season average of 4:59. Garcia Castaneda on the return and a big hit on the play. That was Jelani Davis with the decleater.
We're looking at a moment now. If you talk about game situation and what you have to do, down 3 touchdowns, 4 minutes and 49 seconds, you got 2 timeouts. You need a touchdown on every drive. You need a touchdown on every other play, not literally, but close. But then you're going to have to onside kick because you don't have enough time to stop the clock. So it's touchdown, onside, touchdown, onside. It went from Heisman difficulty to All-American forever difficulty.
To the air, that's complete to Goring. Graham Goring's had a nice day today for South Dakota State. He has a touchdown catch and is over 100 yards receiving. Both he and Block have gone over 100. Gain of 15 there. Mason back to the air. This time he goes to his tight end. Is that Gannon? Grayton Gannon on the catch.
And Montana's okay with this. They don't love the completions, but they just want South Dakota State to run plays because they want clock to run off.
Mason back to the air, and this one is caught again by Gannon.
4 minutes and 6 seconds and 3 touchdowns needed. Montana, you mentioned, you need more points when the clock gets to 0. The currency they're trying to pay something with is time. They want seconds to run off the clock, so they're okay with giving you yards because yards, without being in the end zone, is just a tick, tick, tick of the clock.
And South Dakota State had to, they started to run a man on, then ran it back off, but the officials still held for the opportunity to substitute. A frozen rope, and it's incomplete. Goring had a defender right there. That was Lawler once again in coverage. The way the ball comes out of Chase Mason's hand is incredible to watch.
It's just different, man. He's got arm talent, but this Montana defense has done everything they can to make his life really, really hard despite that big right arm.
Third down play. Pressure coming up the middle. Mason rolling to his left, flips it back across his body, and Isaiah Garcia Castaneda hauls it in for a first down.
Goodness. Wall's closing in. You have to scramble to your left. Your hips are facing the mountains, and you flip one back across your body for a first down. Incredible talent.
Mason stands in, lets this one fly. He's got a wide open receiver. That's Garcia Castaneda hauling it in again inside the 5-yard line. Clock running. 3 minutes to play.
Big, strong Chase Mason just held off Caleb Otluski. He was hitting him while he threw. Otherwise, that would have been a touchdown.
On the ground toward the corner, that's James Basinger into the end zone for a touchdown. South Dakota State scores quickly. There's a player down. I think that's Hayden Schwartz. Redshirt junior from Jacksonville, Florida. Schwartz transferred from Minnesota.
It looks like his right leg appears to be the thing they're looking to tend to. But kind of talk about the significance of what just happened. So South Dakota State was able to score by taking about a minute and a half off the clock. But I mentioned, and you had called it out very adroitly, they used a timeout to avoid a penalty while on offense on their previous offensive possession. And when they did that, that takes away your ability to stop the clock on a full set of downs. 3 timeouts means first down timeout, second down timeout, third down timeout, they punt. So that enables you to not have to onside kick it when you have your full complement of timeouts. By burning that one to avoid the penalty, they now remove their ability to play normal defense on the other side. But because of where it was in the field, you can't avoid taking that timeout. But that play 10 minutes ago on game clock was as big for the effect of this game as that touchdown right there.
Training staff taking a long look at Hayden Schwartz, defensive lineman. Dan Jackson, head coach for South Dakota State, knowing that his team's going to have to execute.
He was rolled up on and
like a leg whip at the end almost.
Yeah, and anytime you get hit kind of with a locked out leg, there's a lot of ligaments in there, and They don't like being pushed in directions they don't want to, but good to see him up and walking.
Oh, so good. When you saw that replay, it gave you some concern that might be really serious. You certainly hope that it's okay. Good to see Schwartz going off on his own power. First things first, the extra point coming here for South Dakota State as Eli Stater will come on once again.
Now, I mentioned you don't have the ability to stop the clock. There's one little caveat to that, is there is the 2-minute timeout. So it's sort of is Coach Jackson going to roll the dice and feel like he can get a stop in one set of downs, or is he going to try an onside kick?
He's got to score twice. So the extra point is good. And that makes it a 14-point game. But to your point just a second ago, if it's only one score you trail by, I'm with you. Maybe you play defense, but a touchdown there for South Dakota State. When you've got to score twice, do you have any option to go onside here?
You're probably going to go onside because you're really just counting on the clock anyway. But the difference here is if you kick it all the way down and you feel like you can get a stop on those sets of downs, you go full kick, then first down timeout, second down timeout, third down, 2-minute timeout, punt. That's kind of the bet you're making. Your offense, in a best-case scenario, goes down to score. After that, you then attempt the impossibility of the onside kick rather than right now. It's such a low risk or such a low likelihood play that you don't count on counting it. If you kick it deep, that means if you get the stop, you get the ball in much better field position. By what it looks like is attempting an onside kick here as they line up, even if you get a stop, you're going to get the ball way in your own territory. So I get why they're doing it, but I would probably kick this one all the way down if it's me.
Hands team of 8 across the 45-yard line, looking for the big hop. They got the big hop, and it's recovered. A great job there by Brooks Davis. He went high and snatched it out of the air. That was a perfectly executed kick where you got the low skip and then the high bounce.
It was absolutely perfect.
Clock to 2 minutes and 47 seconds. 2:47 on the game clock.
Now, all is not lost. It's not a 100% chance of winning. We're just at 99 at this point. The path forward for South Dakota State involves Bobby Houghton very excited about this onside kick recovery. He's sort of helping his team catch it.
He bounced on the sideline with the ball, and then he sees Davis go up and get it.
It's like every wrestling parent at a tournament. But they must, South Dakota State, in order to win, must get a stop on this set of downs. If they don't, the game is over.
Flag comes in at the end of the play on Gilman, a backup quarterback in the game. That's Jake Jensen on the field, the fifth-year senior. Transferred in from Southern Cal.
Personal foul, face mask, defense number 47. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And importantly, the game clock is at 2 minutes and 39 seconds, not 2 minutes and 41 seconds. And because of that, they don't have to run a play.
It's going to start with a 25-second clock instead of 40 because you had the dead ball spot. It goes to 25. And now a timeout taken by South Dakota State.
They're second of the half.
Do it on a first down, but they preserve 23 seconds or so right there.
Yeah, you're getting really, really, really thin margins here because with using that timeout, the best you can do, first down, stop, timeout. Let's say that takes 5 seconds. Clock goes down to 2:30. You have no timeouts left after that point. So Montana runs another play. It goes down to the 2-minute timeout. Then they run their third down play, and you can't stop the clock after their third down play. So 5 seconds for the play after the 2-minute timeout, and then for another 40, you're getting the ball back with, if you get a stop, maybe a minute and 10 seconds left.
Not to mention that it's a 14-point game.
Right, you need 2 touchdowns to have that happen. That was a very big first down in going to clinch or going towards clinching this game.
This time it's Wortham in at quarterback. So on the previous play it was Jake Jensen. Malai Fanotti in the backfield, but it's Wortham, and he will try to slide down inbounds, had his feet go out from under him, and he goes out of bounds, but still outside 2 minutes, so the clock will start, but it's a first down. So the
timeout. South Dakota State, their third and final and a half. 30 seconds remaining.
That's the final timeout for South Dakota State with 2:20 remaining. Both of these teams laying it on the line, trying to find their way to Music City, USA, this year's FCS championship game, headed to Nashville. On the ground, this is Fanotti. Down to about the 6-yard line. That will take it down to the 2-minute timeout. Grizz on the way to adding their name to the winners list in this second round of the FCS playoffs. We'll be back to wrap it up. 2 minutes remaining in Missoula. Grizz fans having a really good time late in this ballgame. 43-29, Montana in front. They've got it 2nd and 1 from the 6.
Really, there's not much that South Dakota State can do. If they get the 2 feet needed to get this first down, they can just take a knee.
550 yards of offense today for the Grizz, including 189 on the ground.
And they held South Dakota State to 61 yards rushing, which is 2.5 yards per carry.
Wortham keeps it, trying to get to the outside, spins away from tacklers, still on his feet, and they'll push him across the 5. It's a first down, and you can officially, I guess unofficially, put this one in the left-hand column for the Grizz.
Yeah, we showed a little graphic on there. 189 yards rushing for Montana, but the most important yards rushing they had were the 3 that got that to convert. Michael Wortham does everything. He's playing a quarterback, has a zone read, is dead to rights. Now, granted, are they probably going to win if they just get tackled there? Sure. But at this point, Montana wants to get some guys who hadn't played as much on the game.
Jensen hands it to Fanotti. Fanotti into the end zone. Touchdown, Montana. An extra point away from 100.
I'm very, very impressed with this Montana football team. You know, we knew that South Dakota State was big. We knew that they were physical, and that was the challenge that Montana was facing. They said that you're going to come to Missoula, you're going to have to beat us, and we're going to beat you at your own game. Now, does that touchdown mean anything to anybody other than Fanotti? No. But that's a great moment for this Montana Grizz team. And they can punch their ticket to the quarterfinals, take on the Coyotes, South Dakota.
Only interesting thing about that decision, I understand you want to give players an opportunity. You could have taken a knee there and ended the ballgame.
Yeah, I agree. I probably would have taken the knee. I'm guessing.
I'm not talking about running up the score one way or the other. You got to run your defense back out there, and you got a game in 6 or 7 days. You want to keep everybody healthy and try and get out of here.
And you know South Dakota State's not going to roll over, so you are going to have to do something. So that touchdown must have meant something emotionally to that group, whether it's Fanotti or whether that's going to be Jensen or something on the field made them want to do that.
The 4th rushing touchdown of the season for Malai Fanotti. He's a redshirt freshman from Hawaii. And Jensen, the 5th-year senior backup quarterback, on the handoff. So it's a 21-point lead with 1:20 to play. Joe Silver will come out for the kickoff. Green on the return. He gets out to the 28-yard line. 1:13 remaining as this Jackrabbit offense will come back out one last time. A season that started with 7 straight wins for South Dakota State, leading in that into the Dakota marker game, number 1 versus number 2. Chase Mason was hurt in the Murray State game. He missed the next 5. Jackrabbits the 14 seed as Mason unloads, throws over the middle, incomplete. Trying to get it to his tight end, Drayton Cannon.
So you look at the South Dakota State team, though, and yes, this game has not gone like they wanted to, and their season didn't give them the home field that they expected based on the injury, but this is not a team that's going to just roll over and take it in the offseason. This is a Jackrabbits team that you're going to expect to be back year after year. We were talking with Coach Bobby Houck. This is the third time they played them in a row.
Sidearm delivery incomplete, and a big hit there at the end by Prince Ford. He got a shot in on Graham Goring. 1:02 left, clock stopping with the incomplete passes.
That was, you mentioned having to get your defense on the field. That's only a few inches away from the potential targeting, which would
cause Ford to miss, or anybody,
really,
miss the first half
of the next game, which is why that scoring a touchdown, yes, it's great, but that's the kind of risk you run.
Mason intercepted. Taken away by Tarahiti Wolf. There is the icing on top at the end for this Montana defense that has been outstanding today. They have held South Dakota State to 61 yards on the ground. That's their second interception. Chase Mason had only been picked off twice this season coming into today's game.
Everything Montana needed to do to win this game, they've done. They controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides. They won the turnover battle. They won the special teams battle. They won the middle eight. They scored a touchdown at the end of the first half to make it a two-score game. They did everything right. They controlled the pace. And with North Dakota State going down, we mentioned that the road to Nashville runs through Montana. That Brawl of the Wild rematch round number 2 looks like the potential outcome on this side of the bracket for who gets to be in control of that championship hunt.
If it gets to that point, this time it'll be in Bozeman. Played that game here in Missoula a couple of weeks ago. If you get to a semifinal where it's Montana and Montana State, it would be in Bozeman.
That game was so weird. There was a pick six. They had a blocked field goal. I mean, that's such a tight game. However, South Dakota handled their opponent and won by more than 49 as we got a backflip on the field. This Montana Grizzlies team looked very impressive today.
50-29 going to be the final score. Montana with the win now 12-1 on the season. And they will get South Dakota here in Missoula next weekend.
You really look at this team and you think, where are you going to beat them? You know, they have a solid defense, as you see Bobby Houck talking to Chase Mason, trying to pick his opponent up. They got a solid defense. They got potentially the best offense in the FCS. And now without number 1 on the field, this is a team to be reckoned with.
Haley Ayat today, 360 yards passing, 29 of 37, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. We think we're going to have a chance to visit with him coming up in just a moment as Bobby Houck's team advances to the quarterfinals. They will take on South Dakota either Friday or Saturday this coming week. Big win for this Montana team. The only blemish on the resume this year, a 3-point loss in the Brawl of the Wild. An in-state rivalry game, and you know the Grizz would love another shot at the Bobcats here in a couple of weeks.
And they would want to. That trophy doesn't come back because it's in the playoffs.
That's right.
The emotion of that trophy, that's almost a bigger win if they're able to punch their ticket to the title game in Bozeman.
Grizz singing with their fans as Montana gets the win, and they move to 12-1 on the year. Bobby Houck is the head coach of the Montana Grizzlies, and coach, a complete victory for your ball club today. What did you think?
Well, it was good. You know, after the first quarter, we kind of kicked it around a little bit. You know, we got stopped on 4th and 1, and we missed a PAT, and gave up the 90-yard freaking post into post defense. But after that, we settled in and kind of played pretty dang well. I was proud of our guys. Our assistant coaches did a great job in terms of the game plan, and the Grizz were better today.
Yeah, Coach, your team looked great in all phases, and one of the things coming into this game, you're playing a South Dakota State team. It doesn't matter who's at quarterback, who's coaching it. You got to stop the run and run the ball, and you guys did that today. How proud of you of your run offense and defense?
Well, I'm proud of our team in that regard, and their team competed hard. They are good. They're a really good football team, guys. They're good up front, and we controlled that part of the game, and that's obviously critical, especially this time of year and in the playoffs.
Coach, your quarterback today, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, goes for over 350. Just a big, big day for Keali'i Ayat.
Yeah, great day. Good job by him. Hope he's all right. He's a little nicked up, so we ended up putting Jensen in at the end, and that worked out good for us too. But Keali'i was special, and I'm proud of him.
And talking about special, I kind of compared your offense to Yamamoto, the pitcher from the Dodgers, because he's got 6 different pitches and all of them are good. You got Gilman, who's your fastball. You got Wortham, who's your curveball, and all the skill position guys that you have. I mean, how lucky do you feel to have that many options on offense to go to?
Well, the best part of it, guys, and that is what you just said. There's a true statement. The best part of that is in the makeup of this football team. Everybody's big into touches and targets and all that other garbage. Our guys don't care. All they care is about having one more point than that team on the other side of the scoreboard, and that's why it all works. And I love our guys. I love how they play, and it's good to be a Montana Grizzly today.
Well, they had 21 more today than those opponents. Coach, congratulations on the win.
Yeah, we owed those guys. They got us the last 2, so it was good to get them.
That's right. Congratulations on the win.
Appreciate you guys being here. Go Grizz.
Be South Dakota next week as we finish the conversation with Bobby Houck, and he hands the headset over to his quarterback, but not before he gives him a hug. As Keali'i Ayat, following in the footsteps of his father, who was an outstanding player here, now carving his own path. And I mentioned a second ago, 360 yards passing, 4 touchdowns on 29 of 37. Keali'i, what a game. Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
What was the mindset going into this one, knowing that this had a chance to be a physical game, but you had a lot of weapons at your disposal?
We knew what South Dakota State brings to the table. They're a physical team, so we knew we had to come prepared all week. We prepared like that, so just take it play by play and execute.
So, Keali'i, congratulations on the win. As a quarterback, you're used to taking the snap, but this year you've kind of gotten used to watching Michael Wortham take those. When you're out kind of as a wide receiver in those plays, do you just take a moment to kind of look back and be like, man, he's good at football?
Definitely. Mike is a great player, and I'm glad we have him on our team because he makes my job a lot easier, so great to have him.
We hear about family legacies sometimes. It's rare that you have a father who was as elite as he was, and that you follow in the footsteps, not just at the position, but kind of carving your own legacy. Tell us what that's like at your house.
I'm just grateful for the opportunity. Grateful for my coaches, grateful for my teammates, and can't do it without them. We don't really talk about it that much at home, but I'm just glad I got to play with these good guys. It makes my job a lot easier.
Well, I know you've got a big supporter there, and thoughts on being back in Washington Grizzly Stadium again next weekend?
1 week season, so got to take that week 1 week at a time, and then we got South Dakota, so yep.
Yeah, you guys played great today. You ran the ball. You controlled both sides of the line of scrimmage. Congratulations on a great win.
Thank you.
Keali'i Ayat with a big game. 4 touchdown passes, Jeff Woody. No interceptions. It was a Montana team that was complete today.
They were complete. They played well on offense, defense, special teams. They won time of possession. They won yards. They won turnovers. They won special teams. It'd be hard-pressed to find a team that played better in this second round of the playoffs than the Montana Grizz.